Hey internets, it's Jake, and this is Mini Terrain Domain. You know, they say there's a fine line between bravery and stupidity, and I've found 5 daring players that are willing to toe that line tonight. As I take them through Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, Tomb of Horrors, from Tales of the Yawning Portal. With me tonight, I have, from a fistful of dice, 1/4 of Absolute Tabletop Publishing, 1/3 of the Roll Up and Die podcast, 100% charming, Matt. I've also got, from the gaming stables of Tabletop One Shot Group and the Absolute Tabletop Official Group, Taylor. From the deep reaches of outer space, the musical mayhem master of Planetoid. But you probably know him best from D&D's Deadliest. It's Logrius. And of course, my bearded brother from another mother and my internet better half from the RPG Construct, it's Drake. And from my home game and my home campaign, pretty near my hometown, it's my in real life friend, Mike. I am so excited to run these 5 players through this game. One caveat. I don't usually say this before a game, but if you have any hopes in your home group of playing in the Tomb of Horrors, get out now. Don't watch this. You're going to spoil it right from the very beginning. If you even peek, you're going to spoil it somehow for yourself. So there's that caveat. You've been warned. So we're going to get into this game that could last 20 minutes or 3 to 4 hours. So without further ado, let's get into it. Somewhere under a lost and lonely hill of grim and foreboding aspect lies a labyrinthine crypt. It is filled with terrible traps, and not a few strange and ferocious monsters to slay the unwary. It is filled with rich treasures, both precious and magical. But in addition to the aforementioned guardians, there is said to be a demilich who still wards his final haunt. Be warned that tales have it that this being, called Acererak, possesses power that makes him nearly undefeatable. Five adventurers have journeyed into the unknown in search of the tomb. They know their journey must be coming to a close. All signs point to it being nearby. As they trudge through the thick woods, we see a dwarf emerging from behind a tree. Matt, tell us who this dwarf is.
She is Tilda of Clan Glimmerhand, and she is a noblewoman and a priestess of the deity Baronar Truesilver, otherwise known as the Revered Mother. And she has made this journey and will delve into the Tomb of Horrors to find out what happened to her brother, who disappeared 1 year ago inside the tomb. She intends to retrieve his signet ring from wherever it may be.
Behind the dwarf emerges a massive green dragonborn. Drake, tell us about this dragonborn.
This dragonborn is named Nox Vexras. He is a paladin who pays homage to the demon lord Orcus. He has taken the oath of treachery. He is here for his own gains, his own power. He is here purely for selfish reasons. For even though the dangers of the Tomb of Horrors are things of legend, The items and treasure within is far too much to ignore.
And as this hulking dragonborn makes his way through the brush and undercover, we see another figure. A half-elven woman. Taylor, who is she?
Ariam's song slinks in the shadows. She's hard to see. She has a bow on her back, daggers at her side, and just the faintest glimmer of magic about her. If you have dealings with the underbelly of any particular city, you might recognize a symbol or two. She's a criminal by trade, a thief, and has been tasked with delving into the tomb, finding what's there, and bringing it back.
Not far behind her, a slender elf emerges. Locrius, who is this elf?
In the east of the land known as Kalimshan, in the forest of Mir, there is a tower. Amidst the dark trees, there is an alabaster tower, and it is said within it lives a blue witch. A witch by the name of Mixolydia. She has lived a hermetic existence there for countless lifetimes by human standards, seeking an arcane breakthrough, a way to bridge the gap between life and death, to reach beyond the black gate and return a soul dear to her, her sister, her twin sister, who she lost hundreds of years ago in the tomb of a mummy lord. It is said through her readings, through centuries of study, that there is a way, but she requires a catalyst. She requires an object of power. The left eye of the demilich, Acererak himself.
And bringing up the rear, another hulking figure. A half-orc emerges. Mike, who is he?
Thort Quintero comes from the Tarami noble clan and was adopted from an abandoned orc clan, and came about to be a folk hero through false pretenses. And he seeks the tomb to prove himself as a true hero and return to his village proud.
Each of you trudging through this forested area, knowing that the tomb's entrance must be nearby. Each with your own reasons, you emerge into a clearing. The trees just suddenly break away from you, and you find yourself in this clearing, and just below a slow rising, flat-topped hill. You can see that it stretches to your left and to your right, to the west and to the east, 100 yards in each direction. It rises up and seems to extend on for a couple hundred more yards. At its peak, it looks to be, or where it begins to level out, it appears to be 60 feet high. Will you continue up onto this hill, or what would you like to do?
Nox wouldn't stop. He probably wouldn't even be looking around. He would go up to the top as just a fast walk.
Nox leading the way. you quickly see, as you get near the top where it starts to level out, you can see that the hill does extend for a couple hundred more yards and then appears to suddenly drop off. In the middle of this hill are several large black rocks scattered around. There's about 6 of them arranged in almost like a semicircle across a space of about 50 feet in front of you. And then just 3 more large black rocks beyond that. One just north of it, one slightly northwest, and one slightly northeast of it.
Knox would pause, kind of look at it very kind of quizzically. His eyes would squint, and then he would look back to the other members of his party and say something along the lines of, "Am I going alone, or are you coming with me?"
You can count on me. And Tilda will kind of come up behind him and bang her hammer on her shield. I'm with you until the end.
Thork also approaches, holds his warhammer high, and says, "Doom, I am the Thork. From this day forward, I spread my buttery justice over your every nook and cranny."
When Ariam stops rolling her eyes, she would kind of come up the hill, but around the side a little bit, walking cautiously and keeping her eyes open for anything that's suspicious.
And I imagine there's a rustling of white robes as Mixolydia's blue skin, her hand reaches up to the sky, and you see the feathered form of her familiar Cadence and albino raven fly up into the sky to peer down to try to discern from a bird's eye view if there's any sort of pattern to these stones at all.
And as your bird flies high into the sky and you begin to see through its eyes, you see the grassy hill, the flat-topped hill extending in all directions. In the center of it, you see the 5 figures that are the 5 of you. And you see these 5 stones that are arranged in a pattern that from this height appears to form a grinning skull face. You can also see that just 150 yards to the north, the hill drops off suddenly, about 20 feet down. Sandy, rock outcroppings at the top, scrub and shrubs at the base of it. Let me ask you this, since you have your bird in the air and you toss it up toward the sky, what time of day is it?
I think that it's this is the Tomb of Horrors. The sun is setting. It is the gloaming. The light is waning. And night is about to overtake us. But even though there are dark tidings on the air, Mixolydia can't help but giggle. And she'll say, "Come, friends, it appears that these stones are arranged in the visage of a skull, perhaps the countenance of Acererak himself. It's been quite a journey. Let us take a moment before we venture on, and allow me to regale you with a tale of an ancient wizard." And she'll sit down, and with prestidigitation, she'll start a little fire, a little campfire, and she'll tell a little campfire story. And she'll say, "I tell you the tale of the wizard Evard. His hat, it was wide, and his staff it was hard. And she goes on into a historical tale as if it was told on girls' night, like super body, ridiculous hilariousness, for about 10 minutes as I use the inspiring leader feat to give everybody 11 temporary hit points. And I think she would also detect magic if I could do that as a ritual. I think that she would detect magic as a ritual.
All right.
And, you know, I imagine after eating some dry rations and probably drinking some stale ale, she would turn to her companions and say, "This is a difficult undertaking. Many have tried and not returned. But we have traveled a few days together, and I have heart that if we work together, we will be victorious."
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Tilda sort of nods to you and says, "Yes, my brother is one of them who ventured into the tomb and did not come out, but he went alone. We have allies on our side, and so I know we will be victorious."
The one who walks with the dead. Talking to us that we will all survive. And he just keeps kind of giggling with this smirk out of the scaled side of his mouth, just kind of looking at the wizard, just shaking his head.
Your magical detection ritual complete. You know that you completed the ritual perfectly, flawlessly. And from where you are in the center of these rocks, which from within the center of this rocky visage, it extends out well within the range of the detect magic ritual. And you detect absolutely nothing.
And I think she would make mention of this. She'd say that's strange. Surely a demilich of immeasurable power would have magical wards and guards.
Perhaps the fiend is shielding his magic somehow. Illusions, something like that. Cloaking himself from the outside world.
Perhaps he doesn't think he needs one. Maybe his arrogance will be his undoing. And with that, Nox would actually put his hand into a small tan pouch and would pull out kind of a large marble size, fuzzy ball. And he would throw it in the middle of those rocks. And he's using a ball from his tan bag of tricks. And when it lands, a full-grown baboon will appear as basically my companion in the middle of those rocks. Would anything happen to it?
The baboon appears in the middle of the rocks, kind of looks around for a moment in confusion, sees the fire, sees the five of you, scratches its big red butt, and then just kind of plumps down on the ground, picking at little insects in the grass. Other than that, nothing.
I will, I'm going to start inspecting the stones a little closer, just trying to see if there's any sort of markings or anything, runes, anything like that on the surface of these stones that I can perceive.
All right, give me investigation.
That's going to be a 13.
A thorough examination on your part of all of these rocks, 9 of them in total, indicates absolutely nothing other than the fact that they are blackened rocks. They're not blackened, but they are black rocks. They are made of a dark obsidian.
I wouldn't happen to be able to use my stone cunning to maybe identify what sort of stone they are.
Obsidian.
Just obsidian? Nothing special about them
sorry.
beyond that?
Yeah, sorry.
Cool.
I said that like that because I just said that they were obsidian, and I realized you may have thought I meant the color of black that they were. But no, they are made of obsidian.
Okay, cool.
Other than usually being pulled deep out of the earth. From what you can tell, they appear to have been here so long that as near as you can tell, they've been here always.
At this point, Thork is growing tired of all these tricks, and he pulls a shovel from his bag and goes, "The big gray orc of justice grows tired of your trickery. I'll dig myself to the tomb of horrors." And he just starts digging a hole in the middle of this, trying to find the entrance.
All right. So Thork is digging a hole.
I think Nox would stare at him for a moment, and if a Dragonborn could roll his eyes, he would. And he would look at his little baboon friend, and he would motion for him to move north to where that little 20-foot cliff was, and follow him and see if there was anything on that end.
As Thork continues to dig, and Nox and his baboon move north. What's Ariam doing?
Ariam is going to go down the side of the hill, and as the baboon and Nox are coming over the top of that cliff, she's going to be coming down around the side to see if she can see the front side of the cliff. What do you see?
Did Jake freeze?
We have slain the dungeon master, and we have defeated the Tomb of Horrors, ladies and gentlemen.
That's how you do it.
22 minutes.
We Kobayashi Maru'd it.
I blame.
Oh, Jake.
Look at Jake's face. He's like,
He's praying.
Motherfuckers right now. I'm just waiting.
That's his. Please don't let my internet drop. Please don't let my internet drop.
You know,
And
in all the games that I've played with Drake, probably a dozen now, he's never dropped like just in the middle of the game ever. That's funny. See, I'm surprised that no one else went for the bag of tricks and the Tomb of Horrors. How could you not?
I had to go animated shield, man. I was just like,
Yeah.
I love the animated shield is one of my favorite, just like super useful magic items.
Yeah.
And I went with the Warhammer so that I can wield the shield and then I can let go of it and get the versatile damage with the Warhammer. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty rare to have a game where you're like, you can have a very rare item. What?
yeah, wait, I can
You
have
don't.
anything.
It's
Yeah.
like, wait a second, no.
We should have pooled our gold and gone in on one of the apparatus, the big crab. We just sort of like walked into the tomb with the big robot crab.
That would be amazing.
Hey, he's
Who just pulled out an apparatus of Qualish?
No, we were saying that we should have pooled our money together to buy one for the tomb
Yeah.
instead of getting our items. Yeah, Jake.
Oh.
So we've decided that we have beat Tomb of Horrors in 21 minutes. It's a new record because we slayed our DM.
That was weird. Only my hangouts dropped.
Hangouts, man.
All right. So, Taylor, I missed. You started to say what you were doing, and then I dropped. Or what? Yeah.
Aram is going down the side of the hill and come around to where she can get the front side of the cliff face as Nox and the baboon are coming to the top of it.
Excellent. And as they all seem to be kind of leaving the area, and Thork's digging his hole, what's Tilda and Mixolydia doing?
I think Tilda would be sort of keeping an eye out. She sees everyone kind of spreading out and looking around. And I think she is sort of hyper aware of the dangers that lurk within the tomb and maybe even outside of the tomb. So she will just kind of keep a weather eye out, sort of playing mom and doing a head count every few minutes, making sure everyone's still there.
And I think Mixolydia would be, she'd be cycling through different arcane and historical things of lore, things of note that that she thinks might activate some sort of a puzzle. She is a wizard by trade, so clearly she thinks that there's going to be something magical that is going to allow us access into it. So I imagine she reaches into a pouch of magical reagents and the like and pulls out a pristine white skeletal hand and places it on the left eye of the stone. Then she realizes that the eyes are the window to the soul, so she's going to investigate those. And then she's going to say, into the mouth of madness, and she'll investigate the mouth. She's just going to basically spout adages and try to see if she can figure anything out about this.
All right, go ahead and give me investigation. Nox, you and your baboon arrive to the top of this ledge, and it looks like whatever rock is underneath the grass and the dirt and the sand, the rock emerges and just kind of breaks off, and you can see down about 20 feet. It looks like an embankment or the side of a hill where you would expect, where sand is just kind of eroding downwards. So it forms kind of a slope. And Arium, you come around and you see Nox and the baboon kind of at the top near the center of this. And from your vantage point, you see that about 20, 30 feet away from this area is a bunch of scrub that if you were to have approached from the north, you might not even have seen this sandy face of the hill. But because you came around the side of the hill, you can kind of, you see that, you come around and kind of end up in between. Tell me, Taylor, which way did you go? Did you go to the west or to the east?
To the west.
Okay. And with your superior skill, it's entirely up to you whether or not Nox, whether you allow yourself to be seen by him as you're peering around there.
If I'm sure that nothing is going to kill me, then I would step out and wave my hand at him. Maybe give one of those really cool little whistles that I can't actually do.
All right, so then you can see, and from this whole thing is probably close to 300 feet across, the face of this sandy cliff face. And Nox, you can see now just down to the west, about 150 feet, you see Arium kind of give you a subtle whistle. The light's waning. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that, well, let me do this the easier way. Who here has dark vision?
I do not.
Yep.
Okay. So everybody but the orc and the dragonborn, the half orc and the dragonborn. Okay.
But you tell me when I can't see anymore, and I'll tell you what to do.
It's getting it's twilight now, so you can still see. Yeah. So you guys have arrived there. Figure out what you're going to do next as we go to Mixolodia with all of your just various aids and everything else that you're doing. You arrived to a little more of a conclusion than Tilda did, that these are just really old rocks made of obsidian that are arranged in a way that look like a skull.
And I imagine, this is, this is taken probably over 10 minutes, probably closer to a half hour at this point. And I imagine that she's sitting there, probably just hanging out with Tilda, looking around. And I imagine the raven lands on the stone behind her and knocks like the thrush. Only no door opens.
And it's been about 30 minutes now. Thork, you hear a metallic ring as your shovel hits rock. Solid rock. You've cleared an area at this point that's probably about 3 foot square, and that's all you see is rock.
Hey guys, found another rock here. That makes 9. It's good.
That's good. Keep digging.
So at this point, I would think Thork is pretty frustrated they didn't find anything. So he'd bring out his warhammer and just slam the rocks that are in the shape of a skull one by one and see if that would do anything.
You make a very loud ringing noise that echoes across the hill. Even Ariam, who is down beyond the cliff's edge, can kind of hear this reverberating off the trees. 9 solid rings as you hit each one in turn, with no results other than a couple of brief showers of sparks as your warhammer connects with the obsidian. Ariam, you've gotten Nox's attention. What are you doing on the cliffside?
So it's this big sandy cliff, right?
Yep.
And it doesn't appear to have any distinguishing features or not here signs or...
Correct. As far as you can see, the full length of it appears to be sand.
And does the sand spread out onto the ground at the bottom of the cliff as well?
The bushes kind of stop it from doing that too much. It just kind of slopes a little bit. It doesn't extend very far beyond the slope.
Okay. So she'll get up to within about 20 or 30 feet of it. And this little purple mage hand appears. And you only see it for an instant, and then it's gone. And then all of a sudden, you'll fingerprint as there's a divot appearing in the sand. And the mage hand is just boop.
You can see that as you do it, the sand shifts a little bit. It's got that consistency, like if you've ever been on a beach and you kind of dig just a little bit past the surface dry sand, and you get that wet sand that, it's just slightly damp, and you can kind of leave impressions in it, but if you do too much, it kind of breaks apart. That's what the consistency's like.
She draws a little heart with an arrow through it, and then just digs away a little bit with the hand just to see maybe how deep it goes and if there's any change in consistency yet.
How far are you gonna dig with it?
I'd probably go down about a foot maybe, and if there's no change, just kind of shake my head and try something new.
All right, while you're doing that, Knox, what are you doing up on the
I'm gonna notice
up on the top?
I'll notice what she's doing. I will send the baboon over to give her an extra set of hands for the digging. And really just kind of surveying everything, seeing if I notice anything, just taking a good look at everything, just seeing if there is anything abnormal on the side of this thing around me, just trying to find this entrance. Probably losing patience at this point. Just if this is taking too long, we can't even find the entrance. He's just very frustrated.
So you're just kind of wandering around the top of the cliff edge.
No, actually, I think he would probably wander down to the bottom.
Okay.
And just kind of
you could drop over the edge and just kind of slide down the dirt pretty easily.
Yeah, I'd probably get to the bottom, but I would still send the baboon over to help her dig.
Okay. I wasn't 100% clear where you were digging, Ariam. Did you move to where he was and kind of start digging below him?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. So you're digging for a few minutes, and it actually starts to go a little quicker as the baboon suddenly shows up and starts digging in with its two slender hands. And after about 10 minutes, the whole time the sand, a little bit, you dig in and some sand falls in, you dig in a little bit more, get a little further and sand falls in. And then you notice first that your mage hand seems to kind of puncture through to a hollow space. Just as the baboon does the same thing. And then it kind of lets out a screech and almost does a backflip as it rolls away from the hole, and then kind of skittishly comes back up to it and starts almost like reaching out suddenly at the loose dirt. There's probably a hole about the size of a dinner plate that you can just see darkness in.
Ariam would let out another one of those whistles and just call out, "We may have found something down here."
And that's probably around the time, Knox, that you were kind of working your way to where you could get down and toward where she was. You're muted if you're trying to talk.
I'm sorry, Jake. The voice, your voice cut out for me. What did you just say?
About the time that she spotted this hole and kind of gives a whistle and says, "Hey, I think I found something here." You work your way down there, and I think Tilda would probably hear something because she's saying it loud enough for you to be able to hear. And since you were kind of on alert and watching the area, you would kind of hear that from the area of the cliff as she says, "Hey, I think we found something." And
Knox would certainly run down. He's here for treasure. He's here for status. He's here for power. He wouldn't wait. He would want to see it first.
And hearing the commotion down there, I would sort of gather up Thork and Mixolydia and let them know that it sounds like Ariam found something and start heading down that way. In the process, casting light on my warhammer as I know it's starting to get dark and there are certain companions that can't see in the dark, so I want to provide some light.
And I would like to imagine, Jake, so please tell me if this is okay, but here's what I would like to imagine. I took the, as a spell, Leomund's secret chest. So what I would imagine is a montage of Mixolydia pulling off the little secret chest earring that she has, snapping her fingers, and with a flash of white light, it turns into a large chest. Over the next few moments, she opens it up, and pristine white bones coalesce to form 4 intact skeletons that are then directed to dig at the behest of the half-orc, who is busy trying to dig a big old hole, as he is the foreman and these are his workers.
So you're commanding your skeletons to help Thork where he's digging at the rock?
That's exactly right. And I imagine that we're probably interrupted in the middle of that.
Yeah, all of that is badass. And I allow it. There's 4 skeletons that just kind of amble out of this hut or this chest and begin assisting Thork as you essentially over a few minutes manage to clear more rock. And that's around the time you hear Tilda saying what's going on. Hey, they think they found something over there.
Yeah, Thork wouldn't even think twice. He would pick up his warhammer and just sprint to where it's at.
All right, so it's safe to say that everybody is able to get to where Ariam and the baboon were digging this hole. And by this time, well, you tell me, would you have continued widening the hole?
Yeah, I think so.
So at this point, yeah, you'd have a hole that's probably about 2 feet in diameter, and all you can see beyond is darkness. And everybody is there now. It'll only, if you're going to continue with the hole, it's only going to take another couple of minutes to have a hole big enough. You decide how big you want to make it. If you want to make it big enough to crawl through, or if you want to keep making it wider.
Oh, absolutely big enough to crawl through.
In a matter of moments, it is so.
So, Jake, is the hole, like you said, it was darkness beyond? Does it seem like a drop, like beneath the hole?
Are you looking in it?
I was going to say, I think what I'll do is I'll bring out a torch and light it, and just kind of drop it into the hole and hope that there's not like a methane deposit or something.
Because I don't think it was ever clarified, I'm just going to clarify this, that this hole is, at least the way I envisioned it, I should have clarified it earlier, but this is how it is kind of in that almost vertical part near the base of this hill. So it's kind of a hole in the side of the hill.
Oh, it's in the side of the hill.
Not
okay.
in the ground.
So I'll just amend that a little bit and just say that I'm going to sort of like get low and toss the torch as far as I can into the hole just to see a little bit beyond.
And you hear a kind of clattering sound as the torch bounces off of some kind of a hardened surface. And you can see looking in that there appears to be, first of all, the floor that this has landed on. And you can kind of see in the firelight from outside, it's hard to discern, but the light seems to be dancing across multicolored tiles, very colorful tiles.
I think we have found our way in. Good job.
I
Now, who's
don't
going in
trust
first?
it. I say we send the little white friends, the bony friends in first.
As you wish, foreman. Chivalry! To the front! And she snaps her fingers, and we hear the cracking of bone as this skeletal automaton snaps to attention. And These skeletons are rather graceful, almost dainty in their movements, and I imagine it slinks down and ducks into the hole and steps in beyond the threshold into the room beyond.
And you can hear as it steps in the sound, the almost hollow sound of the bones on tile floor, stone floor, kind of clattering, clicking. How many did you send in?
Sorry, I was muted. Just one.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of steps in and goes in maybe even 10 feet, and you can just hear the clattering of its feet kind of clicking on the surface. Ariam, I believe you were going to do something.
She's at the moment just watching to see what happens with the skeleton, and she's also still widening the hole so that she can get a good look in with the torchlight, and is going to pay particular attention to where it's stepping.
So as you widen the hole, and with the torch in there, and the skeletons in there, you basically can see it's wide enough now that pretty much wide enough now that Tilda could almost walk through upright. You appear to have opened just slightly to the side of a 20-foot wide corridor that extends on beyond the torchlight into darkness. There are bright, brilliant colors everywhere in this corridor. The stones and the stones themselves of the floor and the tiles and the colors on the walls and everywhere have been undimmed by the passage of time. The floor of the corridor is this really colorful mosaic of stone with a very distinct winding path of red tiles that's about 2 feet wide that extends on to the south into the tunnel beyond the light. No stonework can be seen on the walls or the ceiling above, because it looks like some kind of a cement or a plaster has been smoothed over all of the surfaces and then illustrated completely. Even from here, you can see the beginning of scenes that show fields with kine grazing, a copse with several wolves in the background, workers of various races and strange human-animal mixtures, pig-human, ape-human, dog-human, and they're all going about various tasks. Some of these frescoes show rooms of some kind of a building. You can make out one that looks like a library filled with many books and scrolls, another that shows the door of some kind of torture chamber, and another that's some kind of a wizard's workroom. You can see painted and depicted on these chairs, windows, boxes, bales, doors, chests, birds, bats, spiders, and all manner of things. And this is just within the first 20 feet or so of this corridor.
Now, Jake, what you're describing, these are images painted, right? These are not separate rooms, right?
Correct. They're in many cases they're just painted frescoes. Like maybe some of them vary. Some of them are 5 feet wide. Some of them are 10 feet wide. You can see on the western side of the corridor, maybe kind of just at the edge of the light, you can see that there appears to be something jutting out from the wall at about probably about 3-4 feet off the ground.
Jake, would the hole be large enough for Nox to crawl through?
It's big enough now that anybody can get through. And if you even just pushed on kind of above, the sand and dirt would break away, revealing the full width, just like a mini sand cave in, and then there's the full width of the tunnel is available to you.
He would do that. He doesn't have patience for people or really anything. He just wants what's his or what he believes is his. He would push on that, and he would step through just to be a few feet within it. And as his feet kind of hit the ground in a clunk, he would extend his halberd straight in front of him, extending several feet in front of him, and you would just hear him mutter a word. The other
Did Drake freeze for everybody else?
We won again.
Our first casualty.
Oh, man.
Don't go in there. You saw what happened to him when he went into the room.
Hello?
Now he's here twice.
I'm sorry.
There, hey, two times.
I just got this weird error that said, "I'm sorry, something broke. Please reload." Wow.
Oh, Google Hangouts.
What was the last thing that you heard?
You extended your staff out in front, your pole arm out in front of you several feet.
Yeah, and then you would hear me mutter something under my breath. You would just hear like a Nazi, and you would see the end of this sphere burst into flames as he's basically activating the flame tongue feature on this halberd, and it's going to extend light 40 feet. And he's just with that. He's just going to be looking around, seeing what he can see.
So you can clearly see extending 40 feet in just the continuation of all of these scenes and frescoes. None of it is covered in any kind of dust. None of it has been dimmed or aged by time. All the colors are as brilliant as if they were just painted. And you can see these scenes. There is a what probably the closest one to the entrance where you are. It's only about maybe 25 feet in. On the western wall is a depiction, a fresco that depicts a kind of like a wizard's workroom. And this is where you can kind of see that there's some kind of a box seems to be sticking out midway. Well, the ceilings go 20 feet high. It's not midway up that high, but it's about 3 or 4 feet off the ground. It seems to stick out about maybe 8-10 inches. And then there's more frescoes on either side down the way. And you can see that this on the floor, there's this 2-foot wide path of red tiles that just kind of about 10 feet away from you, it actually kind of curves over to the western side of the hall and then continues on. And just at the edge of your light, you can see that it takes a sharp turn towards the east side of the wall. And it appears to just be kind of winding down to the south in this chamber. Or this.
Then the final thing I do, if you'll allow it, I want to send my baboon down the hall as far as I can over to that, maybe over by that jutting out piece.
Okay. It goes. It stands there. It looks up at this box and it looks back at you and scratches its ass.
That's my turn.
So you guys have gotten a pretty good lay of what it extends out about 40 feet into this corridor.
Mix Lydia finishes lighting the lanterns hanging from the shoulder bones of each of the skeletons. As she steps into the room, she begins to look at these frescoes, trying to remember from her studies if these are scenes from any stories of lore that she would know.
You can give me a history check.
All right, that's a 21.
You recognize that this is exceptional and aged artwork. That very skilled artisans chiseled the frescoes and painted them. you recognize that all of the scenes that are depicted seem to be generic. The wizard workroom, and you can kind of see now with the extra light that where this piece juts out from the wall, it actually looks like within the wizard's workroom fresco are a set of doors and two jackal-headed human figures that are painted so that it looks like they're holding what is actually now, you can see a real bronze chest protruding from the wall. You can see just past that, like immediately next to it on the same wall, is the depiction in fresco of a torture chamber with within the torture chamber looks like a full-size iron door with some kind of grotesque tentacle in 2D coming out of the little bars at the top, as if there's some creature within the torture chamber that could be released on the prisoners at any moment.
Yeah, she will remark upon that, and she'll say, Jake, didn't you also say that there were like strange, like half people, half pig creatures and like weird stuff like that?
There's just weird combinations of animals and humans. Like there's jackal-headed humans holding this, depicted to be holding this bronze box. There's like pig humans and dog humans and ape humans.
Yeah, she just nods her head and says, transmuters. And she turns to the rest of her party and says, I can't really make heads or tails of the meaning of these frescoes, but it does seem to culminate in this depiction of these jackal-headed creatures with this very conspicuous box sticking out of the wall.
Forget the frescoes. I want the box.
Likewise, Thork would be drawn to the box and be investigating that.
All right, anybody that's checking out the box, if you get within just a couple feet of it so you can look at it, it's you can see that this chest is it looks to be hinged on the bottom in a way that would allow the lid to kind of swing downward, and there's a catch on the top that looks like it needs to be pressed that would allow this lid to kind of just go boom. And you can actually see sticking out of the wall behind where this catch is, it's very clearly visible, is a 3-inch needle poised right in line with this catch on this the lid of this box.
Thork turns to Mixo. I say we have our skeleton friends pull the lever.
Come now, everybody knows that they're your skeletons. Give the order.
All right, so Thork would order the skeletons to pull the lever.
So it's basically it's not so much a lever as it's just kind of like a little catch release on the top of the box, and so the skeleton will come over.
Ariam does this thing where she like kind of holds her hand up and opens her mouth, and then like sees the skeleton walking up and just puts her hand down and shakes her head. It's like whatever.
So as the skeleton touches the catch on this thing, as soon as it pushes down on the thing, the needle goes fing and just sticks right into the hand and kind of pings it. And you can actually see a little bit of liquid residue as a poison oozes out of this this needle and goes down the side of the skeleton's hand. I don't know. You got your stats there. I believe skeletons are immune to poisoning anyway. So
I think so. I do have the stats. Let me pull it up right now. Let's see here.
Just double check that. But the lid opens, and Ariam and Thoric are the ones that were kind of closest up on this thing, and you can kind of see as this lid drops down, it looks like the chest is empty. It's kind of dark in there, but from what you can see, it looks to be empty.
Ariam conjures her mage hand, and it reaches into the box. And she's just gonna let it kind of touch all four corners in the bottom and see if there's anything in there.
There's resistance in the middle of the box.
It pulls and grabs and see if it can lift anything out.
It's going to grab a hold and pull.
Yes.
The 10-foot section immediately in front of the box of floor drops away suddenly.
Oh dear.
And Ariam and Thork, you fall 30 feet into a pit. You are going to take 10...
Jake, there will be a whisper on Mixolydia's lips and a flash of cool white light as she casts Featherfall to break their fall.
Can you cast that on more than one target?
It's up to 6 targets as a reaction. I think up to 6. I'll look it up to make sure. Up to 5 willing creatures.
All right. Well played. As there's this moment where your stomach drops out, and then there's just this flash, and suddenly you feel yourself gently falling 30 feet. And I'm going to have you take a dexterity save as your descent is slowed because of the shock of this, that to see if you can avoid the spikes that are at the bottom of this pit.
As Ariam is falling, she says a word under her breath, and her boots, the stitching on the side of them that looked like wings, comes to life and pops out.
And you are no longer falling. You are instead flying. But Thork, you're still slowly descending down.
Rolled a 19.
You're able to bypass the spikes and kind of land in between spikes. Man, is it a close fit. But you are at the bottom of a 30-foot pit now.
Gravity is a harsh mistress.
How you doing, Thork?
Oh, peachy. Lots of spikes down here. Watch your step, guys. If you want to just jump into Thork's arms, I'll catch you and bring you down here.
Do you want to...
Come on down. Just jump into Thork's arms.
Do you want to
okay.
lift?
Oh, okay.
All right. She'll say, just a sec, we'll get the rope and we'll get you out. Just, hey, hold on. Don't touch anything.
I'll stay right here. Yes, ma'am. I'm looking around, Jake, with my dark vision. Can I see any sort of paths, or is it just a pit?
You just see stone walls and spikes everywhere down here. All right. So you guys are gonna try to haul them out with a rope?
Yeah.
Um,
I'll hand it to Tilda. She looks sturdy.
Yeah, I'll grab onto it and brace myself and start pulling.
And I'm going to say with the teamwork and being able to kind of put your feet on the side and everything, you're able to make short work of hauling Thork up out of this pit, which is very clearly visible now.
While they were all doing this, I think Nox would try to venture forward, always trying to be one step ahead in his own, for his own selfish reasons. And he
How
would,
far?
I think he would always have the baboon ahead of him by probably 10 or 15 feet, but he'd probably go 20, have the baboon go like 30 or 35.
The chamber is 20 feet across. The multicolored tile floor has a very obvious red pathway, which currently on the side you guys are on is now interrupted by this 30-foot pit. But it does continue on for the path continues on the west side of the chamber, the corridor for 30 feet. And then it kind of veers sharply south, or you can just walk along the middle or the eastern edge or whatever.
I would have the baboon follow the path, and I would walk along the edge.
And you're going how far?
20 feet, 25 feet.
You get about just as you're kind of reaching that passing that 20-foot mark, and you can kind of see the baboon has followed the path, and he crosses in front of where you are, and it kind of does this weird thing where it crosses in front to the east side, goes about 8 feet, and then sharply turns back to the west before continuing on. And at that moment, the floor drops out from underneath you, and you fall. And you fall, taking 2 points of bludgeoning damage. And 13 points of piercing damage as spikes pierce into your hide. And I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. 19.
So you succeed, taking only 12 instead of 25 points of poison damage.
Being a dragonborn, I am resistant to poison, so I'll take 6.
All right. And you're 10 feet down in a hole. As you kind of, and I imagine because you were doing this as they were hauling Thork up, so right about the time they get Thork up to the top, the rest of you kind of hear this as 20 feet down on the eastern side of the corridor, Nox has fallen into a pit.
Forces of justice, investigate as the the skeletons scamper off towards him.
Very quickly, 4 skeletons are standing around, looking back at Mixolydia, and just kind of pointing down in the hole where Nox has fallen.
Nox, are you okay?
What? Who said that? I can't see you. Get me out of here.
You can't see like you're blind, or you can't see like I'm not over there yet? Hang on, I'm coming.
What route are you taking to get to him?
I'm flying.
Smart girl.
These are 20-foot ceilings, so you're able to fly with your winged boots.
It's like hovering.
And I would see her and just be like, just give me a rope. Get me out of here.
How tall are you?
Oh, me? I'm like...
No,
Or him.
Nox. He's a dragonborn.
6'8".
If you reach your arms up, you can grasp the edge of the pit.
Then I would like to do that, Jake.
Maybe just a little bit of a... It was a 10-foot pit.
I would like to reach my arms up and grasp the top and pull my green ass out.
Yeah, you're able to. Which side are you going to pull yourself up on?
Oh,
The
Jesus.
north, the west, or the south?
The closest one to the party. The
So the
direction that I
north.
hear the party.
So the north.
Okay. the
You
north
pull
end.
yourself up onto flat ground, and yeah, you're up out of the pit.
And I just stand there and I don't move. And I'm just waiting for what the others are going to do, seeing if they're going to fall, but I am not taking another step right now.
What's everybody else doing?
I'm helping Fork out of the first hole. And
About this time, you've successfully gotten them up.
so once I get him close enough to the edge, I'll reach out my hand and pull him the rest of the way, and I'll say, perhaps this will teach us to stick together from now on so we don't one by one fall down holes and die.
Agreed, companion. Destiny is with us.
You guys, Nox is in a hole.
Nox, what route did you take so I can avoid that, sir?
The one with the hole on it.
And you can
Not helpful.
see that the path that was bisected by the hole that you fell into, Thork, the red path, continues on along the western edge and actually cuts east to the south of the hole, so just in front of the hole that he fell in, and then cuts back sharply and continues on south.
So the path doesn't actually go over the hole, like where it would?
The path crossed over top of the hole that Thork fell in when you pulled the lever. And it actually ran next to the hole that Nox fell into, and kind of cuts in front of. So it's not interrupted by, the path is not interrupted by the hole Nox fell in. This path seems to meander down this long corridor.
So as the companions are discussing things, Mixolydia is going to command one of her skeletons to walk the path all the way down. To walk the red path.
Okay. It does so, disappearing into darkness.
And
Oh wait, it's at you tied lanterns to it.
I did, yep.
Yeah, so you can see it kind of wander down into the darkness, and then there's this kind of like trail of light before it and after it, as it continues down, illuminating the walls and ceiling, and just following this path along. It stops at a couple points where you can kind of see it goes down, and then about 60 feet down, it cuts back over to the east side of the chamber. Stops briefly, continues on, veers back over to the west, stops briefly, continues to the end, and then just kind of turns, looks all the way down. Probably at this point, it's about 100 feet away. You can see this illuminated skeleton just kind of go, oh.
Well, if it worked for Valiance, it should work for us. What say you, companions? Shall we continue?
We follow the bony friends. Yes.
So you're going to follow the path, picking it up where it was connected, or where it broke apart at the pit that Thork fell into?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who's
the
going
red brick.
Who's
I'll
going
go
first?
I'll
Well,
go
you're already 20 feet further, almost 30 feet further ahead of everybody else.
Good. I'll keep that distance. Just following this guy.
All right, and Arium, you are hovering just above the floor.
If it seems safe, she'll land.
Okay. So, of Tilda, Thork, and Mixolydia, I need to know who's going first.
Thork would jump out first.
And you're going to follow the right path?
Yep.
You fall as the floor immediately next to the hole that you were just pulled out of
Nice.
drops away. You fall 10 feet, taking 1 point of bludgeoning damage, taking 12 points of piercing damage from the spikes, and I need a Constitution saving throw. Don't worry, the entire floor probably isn't made of pit traps.
21.
So you're only going to take, let's see, 13, 19, 20. You're going to take 10 points of poison damage. All right, so now there are 2 pits in succession, but just south of this second pit that Thork has now landed himself in, the path continues on for another 10 feet.
As I'm spooling up the rope that I just helped Thork out of the first pit with, I sort of sigh and start unspooling it and trailing it down the second pit. And I'm like, "Are you okay, Thork?"
I am good companion. There's a hole here.
I gathered. And I kind of yell to the rest of my companions, "Hold up, Thork fell down another hole. We'll be right there."
It's only 10 feet, right, Jake?
Yeah.
So I'm 6'6". Can I just jump
You could
out?
just with a light jump, reach up and grab the edge as well.
All right, I'm going to do that.
Out.
And
Which way do you pull yourself out? To the north is a pit, is another pit. To the south,
I'm going to pull out towards my companions.
So you're kind of back on the eastern side, off of the path, and immediately next to you is also on this side, and just south of you is the pit that that Knox fell into. So you can kind of wend your way through and get back on the path if that's the way you choose to go.
I'll follow my companions. You guys choose. I don't like these holes.
So it's Tilda and Mixolydia who's gonna take that next step.
I will. First, I'm going to cast Cure Wounds on Thork, who is beside me, giving him 1d8. So that's giving you 6 whole hit points back with Cure Wounds. And then I'm going to cast Death Ward on myself. It's because if one person in the party needs Death Ward, it's the person that can resurrect other people. So I'm going to do that. So Death Ward lasts for 8 hours. And then I will continue on.
Are you following the path?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay. Once you kind of get between where these 2 pits are open on opposite sides, you're back on the western edge, and you're able to get back on the path. Sorry. There is no pit at this point.
Good. I'm glad.
How far ahead of the party are you, Knox?
Say 25, 30 feet.
And you're following the path?
I'm following the path that the skeleton went down.
And what are you doing, Mixolydia?
Mixolydia is going to follow the path as well. Can I ready an action to cast a spell as I walk? Is that a thing?
Sure.
Yeah. I'll ready an action to cast a spell.
All right. So as you guys begin walking again, Knox is staying about 30 feet ahead, and Knox, you do this quick little switchback almost as it cuts off to the path cuts off all the way along the western wall. And then it goes about 20 feet, and then it cuts back to the east, continues south, and there's a familiar now click and almost metallic twang as the floor drops, and you begin to fall.
I'll cast my spell. It's a spell called Levitate. It's got a 60-foot range.
The floor falls away beneath you, revealing a 10-foot pit lined with spikes, but you don't fall into it.
And you actually hear him for a moment. He's like, ah, and then he realizes, and you just see, he looks back and he sees this wizard that cast the spell, and he nods and he laughs. He's like, ha 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 ha.
Was he on the path when that happened?
Yep.
Dang it.
Ariam frowns slightly and says a word, and the wings pop out of the boots again, and she goes and she's just while he's levitating, she's pushing him, and they're just gonna kind of go down the hall, hovering over the path, but not actually touching it.
We're gonna dance. We're gonna be spinning around in the air. Just,
Exactly. She's kind of humming a little tune as they go. Da, 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 dun, 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 dun.
So you guys continue along, hovering toward the end. The rest of you, when you get to that point, you kind of have to work your way around the edge of the pit to pick the path back up again. Are you continuing to follow the path? At this point, there's only about 40 feet left, and you can kind of see the end of the hall where that skeleton's just standing there.
hey, hey, Jake, could I yell back at him, like, listen for the click. There's a click before it drops. Listen.
Yeah, gotta watch out.
Just kind of warn them that there's a sound.
You always got to watch out for those damn clicks.
Kind of like the fire swamp,
So you guys kind of end up hovering toward the end, up where the skeleton is, and as the others kind of go around this pit, there's three of you and I believe Thork was taking up the rear. Tilda, were you leading that? Or
I was in front of Thork and
Mixolydia was in front?
Mixolydia, I think, yeah.
There's also 3 skeletons that are traveling with us that Mixolydia is happy to have go in front of anyone who wants them to walk first.
I will put any combination of skeletons and baboons in front of me at this point.
So at this point, after the third, well, actually fourth pit that had opened, you do notice that the skeleton, the first skeleton walking, kind of stops for a moment on a section of path about 30 feet from the end. And then the second skeleton kind of catches up to it as it stopped. And there's this moment where they just kind of are both kind of looking, and the first skeleton starts to take a step. And then that third skeleton catches up, and the floor falls out when all 3 skeletons are there. And there's a clatter of bones as they land. Each one of your skeletons takes 2 points of bludgeoning damage, and takes, I believe they're resistant to piercing, so they're only going to take 6 points of piercing damage each.
So they're not resistant to piercing, and they actually have vulnerability to bludgeoning, so that'll be 4 points each. And then how much piercing?
It would have been 13 of piercing.
Okay. All right, so these skeletons are hardy, though, for Mixolydia is an inspiring leader and a necromancer. So it's a total of 13 points of damage, is that right?
The total was 17 for the...
17, okay.
And so that pit's open. So Ariam and Nox, where you are at the end, you can kind of see now that there is there's 2 things that stand out.
Sorry, my thing dropped again.
And your phone was doing math? So Nox and Ariam, you see 2 things at the end of this hall now, 3 counting the skeleton. On the southernmost wall, 20 feet wide of this hallway, the skeleton is standing in front of a relief sculpture of a devil face that is completely formed of mosaic tiles. The face has a huge O of a mouth, inside of which the space is dead black. The other thing, immediately to your left, on the east side, is a stone archway. The stone archway is filled with a veil of thick vapors, and the stones on either side of the base and the keystone protrude slightly out from the stones around them. Just as you guys kind of get within range of this, as you're kind of in this area, the left-hand base stone of this arch begins to glow yellow. The right-hand base stone glows orange, and the keystone 7 feet above glows blue.
I back us away.
As you move, so you're probably about, you get a good 5-6 feet away from it. The lights just kind of dim.
Oh, no. Like backing away is like a good 20 feet.
Right, but as you get about that range,
Oh,
you
okay.
see the lights dim.
Oh,
So
okay.
you've got an archway with lighting stones, and you've got a devil face, both at the end of this hallway. And the hallway, of course, is lined, as you now know, with several pit traps, a red pathway, and many frescoes.
So, Chris, how long does the levitate spell last?
You're muted.
Yeah, unless something broke my concentration, it's up to 10 minutes for levitate.
Okay, so I am still levitating and basically dancing with Ariam right now. So her and I can go wherever we want.
Well, wherever I want.
Damn. Burn.
Just kidding, man. Go for it.
So as these two are float dancing at the end of the hall, and your skeletons fell in the pit, are you going to leave them down in there? Did they survive?
No, I imagine that there's going to be a Benny Hill montage as we go to get the skeletons out.
Yeah, it takes pretty much the 10 minutes. I just rolled a D10 to see how long. So about the time you get these skeletons pulled out, the levitate spell would wear off, and Nox would kind of just gently sink back down to the floor. And the floor falls out. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that that as we make it, with various contusions and pinholes from the the spike traps to this other side, seeing this huge face with the mosaic and the with the maw of darkness, and was there a portal with like swirling mist as well?
Nope. Yeah. Sorry. There's immediately, so this mosaic devil face is on the south wall. Immediately as you're looking at it, immediately to your left would be this archway with these mists swirling beyond it, and the lighted stones that lit up when there was somebody near.
So Mixolydia would turn to her companions and say, "All right, my adventurous friends, it is clear we have what it takes to best the dangers in this horrifying tomb of death and destruction. But to do so, we are going to have to move forward using our brains and our patience. So I recommend we take a moment. I shall craft a magical sanctuary in which we shall be shielded from harm, and then we can proceed to try to figure out this puzzle."
I'm going to give you guys a bonus couple minutes to kind of puzzle this out, or take advantage of this 5-minute bio break. I've drained my massive mug of iced tea, and I need a bio break. So let's take a quick 5-minute break. Feel free to stick around, or I'll give you a couple minutes to kind of figure out your next step too when we get back.
All right, perfect.
And real quick, I just want to thank everybody that is tuned in to watch this special presentation.
Did I just freeze?
I don't think it was you.
All right, that is super frustrating that just Hangouts keeps dropping. All right, well, as I was saying, thank you to everyone who has tuned in for the special presentation of D&D 5th Edition Tomb of Horrors with some fantastic players. I'm having a blast. I hope they are too. They're just getting to the tip of the iceberg here. But I want to thank you for tuning in. And as I mentioned before, Drake and I together form the podcast Something RPG-ish. Check us out on facebook.com, Something RPG-ish, or you can check us out on iTunes or on Podbean, somethingRPG-ish.podbean.com. Also, be sure to head over to absolutetabletop.com. They have an awesome Oath of the Frozen King Kickstarter going on right now that is just awesome. They've unlocked so many stretch goals. It's a fantastic kit. If you watch my channel, I actually have a play test for the Oath of the Frozen King, which is the product being kickstarted. So be sure to check that out. And I will be back in just a few moments.
Alrighty then. Oh, shoot. Hey, everybody. I think that's funny. The DM says, here, take a 5-minute bio break to figure it out. So everyone else can't bio. We all have to figure it out. It's very strange. Oh, well. Apparently I'm faster than everybody. So I don't think Thork is exactly the brains of the operation.
No, he's not. Definitely not. Wants to fight things.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I encountered Thork in a prior one-shot that involved some giant gorillas.
It's quite possible. Thork has an intelligence that's has negative points to it, so.
Jake,
Yeah.
are we ever going to get through the pit room of death?
I don't know. You tell me.
I tried, but you wouldn't let us waltz out of the room.
I'm following the instructions written by Gary Gygax himself.
He's a dick.
So you can blame Gary Gygax. That
He's a
dude's
dick.
psychopathic. Yeah, it's actually frustrating for me as a from the style I usually run that I would offer hints or options, things like that. But I want the authentic Tomb of Horrors feel. So obviously you're getting a taste of how dangerous this place is going to be if this is just the foyer. The foyer.
Yeah, but at this rate, it's going to take us 9 hours to make it through.
Yeah, I'm curious. What's the suggested runtime for this?
It varies. Sometimes it says that it can take multiple sessions, but it depends. I mean, it was originally designed for tournament play. I actually expected to kill at least one of you by now.
You know, Jake, this is your next thing to make. You made your little Tomb of Horrors setup. Now you got to make
My Mummy Lord.
Your Mummy Lord. Now you got to make the entire Tomb of Horrors.
I'm working on some concepts for crafting tutorials on working like functional traps, where you'd have a sliding block trap that would actually press a player and appear to squish them against the wall.
Cool.
Things like that. The problem is in miniature, there's only so much you can do to conceal that there's a piece that removes or whatever. And even in this first hallway alone, it would be very difficult. I'm not saying impossible, but very difficult to conceal the fact that you guys uncovered 4 pit traps. And that would be very difficult to conceal.
Yeah, I don't know anything about crafting. So.
But I'm thinking about it. I'm definitely thinking about it. I think there's ways to do it. I just got to figure it out.
So, Jake, what if you did like, I don't do any crafting myself, but I know I've seen people do like, they'll use like a monitor or a TV screen to put their minis on. So what if the floor was like a computer monitor, a flat screen TV, and then you had the walls built up? And then you had it's getting super complicated, but then that way it would be, you'd have the image there and you could just switch the image.
That would definitely work. I think what I've actually done something similar in the past where, if you're doing it with tiles rather than a full set piece, you could replace tiles. You could actually put tiles that are solid floor. And then if a pit trap is activated, just pull that tile out and replace it with a trap tile. I generally don't do the tiles, although I'm starting to think more that, hey, it'd be kind of nice to have a full set of like Wylock tiles, or over on Black Magic Craft, Jeremy Pillowpow is going to be very soon, if not this week already, he's going to be doing some how to make different kinds of tiles. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That would do it, right? Swap out the, I don't know how, like, logistically, if that's difficult, though. Like, if you're like, okay, you take a step, hang on for 5 minutes while I move this thing, like...
No, with certain tile setups, you can actually just do it real quick. It's a quick, like, 2-second swap.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
Apparently clicks on Pacific time again.
Just getting that hot and ready.
Yeah, I understand. So we're supposed to be hashing out this room.
Yeah, go for it. Use your time.
So, Jake, if it's okay, what I would like to do is cast as a ritual spell the spell Leomund's Tiny Hut. And I would like to dictate that all of my allies can pass through it unhindered. And it basically is going to be a dome. I imagine it as sort of like a shimmering white dome of force in the middle of the floor. Sort of like, I guess, in between the face on the wall and the ethereal portal, passageway, whatever it is.
But don't we have to go in there, though? I mean, can we activate something and then run in the hut?
I'm going to stay in the hut. You can do what you want.
Then how do we go forward, man?
You can see through it.
You can see through it, yeah.
Okay, but we have to move. Can we move the hut? Can we hold it?
Nope. Nope.
Do a little, like, turtle shell out of there?
I just imagine that, Locrius, you're trying to cast this as like a like a temporary observation dome.
That's exactly right. That's
Yeah, I get you.
right.
I
Like
get
a
you.
little safe room.
Yeah. How big is it? 10-foot radius?
10-foot radius.
Yeah, that's totally doable.
And the floor falls out. You're safe in the hut, but you're floating in oblivion. Yeah.
Tell me in relation to the devil mouth, where do you place this and the archway? Where do you place this hut?
It's basically like Mixolydia is going to walk forward until those first stones start to glow, and she's going to stop right there. And then cast the hut. Hey, Matt, you want to get in the hut?
Okay. So Mixolydia's basically, and at this point, the red path kind of forks. So one end of the path goes to the devil head. The other one leads into the archway. So where you described, I imagine being right at that fork in this path.
Exactly, right at the crossroads.
And as you walk into it, the floor falls. No, I'm just kidding.
Can I send the baboon to the devil head?
How long does that thing last?
An entire day. It goes away. It puffs in the smoke at the next dawn.
All right. Yeah. You can send the baboon to the devil mouth. What do you want it to do?
I will. I'll get in the hut with everybody else, and I would like it to sit on the devil mouth's head or sit in its mouth.
It's gonna go inside the mouth.
Yep. Why not?
Oh dear, I'm definitely in the hut for this.
Likewise.
But you said we can see out, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So your baboon kind of climbs up on top of the head of this thing, and then it kind of crawls down its face, and then it hangs and then drops down onto its mouth. And it just sits there and kind of looks at you. And as it turns to look at you, its tail just kind of goes like this and goes inside the mouth, disappearing for a moment in the blackness. And it just suddenly screams in pain as it takes 25 points of force damage. Is it still alive?
No.
So you would see it just kind of scream in pain and then just kind of reflexively push away from the mouth. And because of the relation of this hut, I imagine it just kind of from inside, you see it kind of slam against the side of this, like, and then it's dead. And then it would just kind of go.
Safety note.
So observation number 1, baboons and devil mouth don't get along. All right.
Wait, is Locrius frozen or is he just staying like that?
No, I was just like,
He was moving around on mine.
I felt bad for your baboon, man.
It's all good. That's what he's there for. I have more.
All right, so you're in your Steve Zissou observation dome in the hallway.
And so Mixolydia would turn to the other ladies in the room and say, for those of us capable of casting spells, this abjuration magic will not block any spell casting that you had to do. So if you have any ideas, feel free. You can cast them directly through the hut.
Ariam kind of nods, and you see the little mage hand appear, and it zips over towards the veil of that doorway, and similar to before, just kind of sticks one finger in to see what happens.
So the mage hands, you could just kind of pushing it into the mist.
Mm-hmm.
It appears to momentarily disappear within the mist. And then it just kind of fizzles away, like the spell ends.
Hmm.
Thork, what are you doing?
So Thork's getting bored again, and are these stones, are they glowing again?
Not from where you guys are in the hut, unless you're
No.
not in the hut.
No, I'm in the hut.
It looked like they only glowed when, excuse me, when Nox and Aruman, did I say that right? Arium were within about 5 feet or so of it.
Okay. So Thork turns to the party, and we still have 4 skeletons.
Yeah, as far as I know, you haven't lost any of your skeletons.
And he says, I think we should send our bony friends to investigate those glowy stone thingies. Perhaps give them a good push to see if anything might happen, because Thork's bored and wants some justice.
Very well, as you command, my lord. And Mixolydia will wave a hand and send one of the skeletons out of the hut over towards those stones.
They do not glow. The mists swirl. The redstone path leads into the mists.
Now, here's a question, Jake. Did they glow when the baboon went?
The baboon went to the devil mouth. It did not go close enough to the
Fair enough.
archway.
You know, with you saying that, I think that the necromancer would probably spark something within Nox, and he would go, and he would again reach into his bag, grab another one of those furry balls, and he would throw it outside of the hut, and a tiger will appear. And he will send the tiger over towards the mist and see what effect happens there.
So as the tiger heads towards the archway, standing next to the skeleton, there's a brief flicker, and then the lower left base stone begins to glow yellow, the right hand base stone orange, and the keystone 7 feet above blue.
Can I see anything past this, or can we see anything past this archway?
Just swirling mists.
I want to send the tiger through the mist.
All right. Just right down the middle.
Right down the middle.
It's like a, okay. The tiger disappears into the mist. Any connection you had to it seems to have been severed.
Well, shit. Anyone?
Now, Jake, looking at these, you said that the stone face is inlaid with colored mosaics. Is that right?
It's basically just made up of mosaic tiles. It kind of comes out like a relief and is just comprised of, as if somebody, you could imagine maybe they carved or shaped this out of stone and then covered it in these, what I imagine to be like a greenish mosaic tile. And then the center mouth is just pitch black.
Like a void of blackness. Yeah, so Mixolydia is looking to see if she can see any patterns with these glowing stones.
They just come on pretty much all at once. In the it's always the lower left, the lower right, and the center keystone The left-hand base stone glows yellow, the right-hand base stone orange, and the keystone blue. And when the tiger passed through the gate, the color on the stones faded.
How many are there other keystones that aren't glowing?
There's only one keystone. It's the keystone is the slightly angular stone at the top of the archway.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So yellow on the base, orange on the base, and blue right in the center.
Yep.
How many other stones are there? Does it look like anything else might light up?
You haven't seen anything light up. There's nothing to indicate that the stones should light up. They seem to glow almost with a magical glowing. And there's quite a few stones up and around on the archway. But each of these that glow is slightly protruded from the rest.
And
I'm gonna go stand next to sorry, what's your character's name, Lucrius?
Mixolydia.
Mixolydia. I'm gonna go stand next to Mixolydia and kind of just see if the archway reacts in any way to having more than one person standing in front of it. And I'm just gonna help her sort of investigate this thing.
Thork will follow as well.
All right, so if you guys are just... Yeah, so you guys can go ahead and anybody that's standing in front of the arch, the stones are now glowing. You can give an investigation check.
Could I do stone cunning history? Maybe? No?
Sure.
Yay. Oh man, that's a natural 22. So that's 28 total for me on a history check with stone cunning.
So pretty much everybody kind of arrives to it takes a moment as you're looking at it. What did you get, Thork?
An 8.
Okay, everybody but Thork kind of slowly kind of realizes the same thing. But Tilda, as soon as you kind of take a studied look, it's almost like you can see the patterns and hear the chisels, and you can tell right away that these 3 stones that are illuminating are some kind of pressures switches that you can see the telltale marks just slightly where they protrude from the wall, where they've scraped against other stone, and they're from being slightly pushed in and then coming back out again.
Okay, yeah. So I make sure that the rest of my companions see that as I point out the sort of scratch marks on these stones, and I'll I'll ask if anyone brought a 10-foot pole. No, I want to be able to push these stones while standing back from them. I don't know if we have anything that will allow us to do that. Maybe we could try with Mage Hand or something.
Nox has his halberd. That's got to be 8 feet long. He could use the pointy end.
And I've got a mage hand.
I think Mage Hand has limited force, though.
It does.
Yeah, it's only 10 pounds.
Yeah, I probably have the most hit points as well. I think I would, when Tilda said that, Nox would kind of stand up and he would kind of tap his halberd on the ground, and just be like, we can do it with this. At this point, he's already fallen into 2 things. He just wants to get through it, and he's just listening to his companions. So if they think it'll work, then he'll give it a try.
I'll cast resistance on you before you try it, Nox, and then I'll sort of step back and usher everybody else to step far back from it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do fall, you'll be able to add a D4 to your saving throw.
Okay, and I will push wherever he tells me to push with the halberd.
You've got 3 stones. The one on the left is yellow, the one on the right is orange, and the one at the top is blue.
I would look to the cleric and just kind of motion like, which one?
And Tilda will kind of look at the wizard, kind of, I'm not sure which one. Blue is the most pleasing color to my eye, but it could be any of them, or all 3, who knows?
Blue, definitely. 100%.
Well then, perfect. Then that's the one that I would try to force out, push in, do whatever.
You press on it with your halberd, and the stone easily slides in.
And nothing else.
Nothing else happens.
Then I would do the other side, the yellow one now. Same thing. Orange. Anything else?
There's no change. The three stones just kind of sit there, and nothing changes in the vapors, the mist. And after a moment, all three stones just kind of go and pop back out.
Okay. How much time do we have when those are pushed in? How long does it take for them to come back out?
We'll say 30 seconds.
What the hell? I'm going to do it again, except when they're all pushed in, I'm going to walk through the archway into the mist.
You're going to push them in the same order?
Yeah.
That's a dangerous question.
But blue is so pretty. You know what? Let's do yellow, orange, blue, and then I'll try to walk through.
All right, so you press each stone in. It goes in, yellow, orange, then the blue keystone at the top. And the mists don't change, and you're going to go through. Are you going to walk on the red path, or are you going to walk off of the red path?
On the red path?
Tilda, he's lost his mind. What's he doing?
All of you see as Nox passes through into the mist and disappears. After the 30 seconds pass, the stones go. And we're going to come back to you in a moment, Drake. What would the rest of you do?
We should have tied the rope to him before he went through.
I'm gonna, as you're saying that, Mixolydia is tying a rope around your skeleton.
Ariam is getting the idea of what he was going to, and she's going to try the other patterns of order for these stones.
All right, so what pattern are you going to try?
Oh crap, which one's Teddy tried already? I'm really bad with order.
He did blue, yellow, orange, I think.
And he did yellow, orange, blue.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'd try orange, yellow, blue.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, the stones all go in and the mists do not change.
And then orange, blue, yellow.
Same thing, no change in the mist.
Then the blue, orange, yellow, or blue, yellow, orange. I'm just trying all of them.
I say push them all simultaneously.
So as you just kind of like playing some kind of medieval Simon game.
Yes, exactly.
You're just kind of like boop, 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 mer, boop, 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 mer. Finally, as you kind of, there's only 3 stones. There's only so many possibilities. You press the yellow, then the blue, then the orange, and the mists disappear. And you can now see that the path seems to recede into the room. Before you guys
probably should have waited to walk through then.
Now, before
Yeah.
you guys walk through, let's see what Nox is up to.
Something had to happen.
You find yourself, Nox, in a 10-foot cube room. This miserable cubicle seems to have absolutely no means of egress. On the southern wall, you can see 3 iron levers, each one about a foot long, protruding from the wall of the chamber. There are slots around the base of these levers that look like they can be moved up and down or left and right. What would you like to do?
Okay, so it's a 10 by 10 room. On one wall, there are 3 levers. They can go up, down, left, right, kind of like a plus sign, correct?
Yep.
Oh, that's wonderful. Is there anything in this room that would indicate, or on these levers that I can see that, and I would be able to see because my halberd would still be enchanted with that fire, that one of them's been used more than the other, or or do they all just look the same?
You don't even need to really investigate. Just looking at it in the light, you can see that they all appear identical. For all intents and purposes, it looks as if they've never been used before.
Oh, great. I'm going to yell really loud and see if anybody can hear me. Like, see if the party can hear me.
Have you ever been in a soundproof room before?
No, Jake, I haven't.
Or like a walk-in freezer or something like that, where it just feels like your voice dies as soon as it leaves? Like when you're in Texas, you wouldn't know. I was going to say when it's like really snowy everywhere.
Yeah, we don't get snow in Houston. Okay.
But it's like your voice comes out and it doesn't even reverberate in the room. It's almost muffled.
Okay, so you said it's a 10 by 10 room, and these levers take up how much of that wall, Jake?
They're just in the center of the wall. They don't take up a whole lot of space. It's 10-foot cubed.
I want to stand to the side of the thing, and I want to use my halberd from like 4 or 5 feet away to slip the center lever up.
Okay. Yeah, and with your strength, you're able to easily kind of hook the halberd on the end. And the metal rod, it's metal. It just gets warm from your flaming halberd. And the rod presses upward.
And I will do that to the other 2 as well.
Pressing each of them one at a time, nothing happens.
See, can I use the halberd to push them all down at the same time?
Absolutely.
Like, simultaneously?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you press all 3 of them down simultaneously.
Yep.
The entire floor drops away.
Of course it does.
I need to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 D6. As you take 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33 points of bludgeoning damage as you fall down 100 feet, crashing into the bottom of this pit. While you lie there wounded, do you have what would you attempt to do to try to get out of this pit?
Well, is it the same thing as just a 10 by 10?
Yes, 10 foot by 10 foot, 100 feet deep.
I mean, I'd probably try to, see if there was anything on the walls, like levers or something like that. If it was just sheer, I would probably try to climb up, use my strength and my claws to kind of climb out of it, even though it's 100 feet.
There's no handholds. The stone is smooth all the way down with barely any seams.
Mm-hmm.
Stretching yourself fully out, kind of doing almost this thing with your hands and your feet out across is about the only thing you can do to kind of shimmy up.
Okay. And
after about 10 minutes and you've gone, maybe a third of the way up, you hear as the floor slams back into place.
So above me has closed?
Yes.
Do I see any light at all?
Only that from your halberd. For all intents and purposes, you are now trapped in a 100-foot deep, 10-foot by 10-foot cylinder, or well, not cylinder.
Okay.
Tube. Well,
I have an idea. Just
go ahead.
One second. I need to see if it'll work. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay. Because of the oath of treachery, I can use a spell here. You'll see him, clutching to the side of this thing, kind of climbing up, and the top just, and you'll see me just kind of cursing and kind of muttering to myself, and you'll see my eyes begin to glow red, and then you'll see him like stretch out a hand, and the hand goes into this like gaseous green mist. And that mist encompasses my arms into my chest, into myself, and I am casting gaseous form. And with that, I can fly, and I will try to go north, go up, and I can pass through small holes, narrow openings, and even mere cracks to get out of here at 10, my flight speed of 10. That's all I got, dude. That's all I got, and that's because of Oath of Treachery. That's all I have.
That's literally probably the only way you're getting out of this. And you are able to, you said a flight speed of 10.
Yeah.
So it takes you a while to maneuver your way upward. Does all your equipment change with you?
Yeah, it all goes with me. But this thing is a concentration spell for up to an hour. So I would want to...
Oh, it doesn't even take you that long. It only takes you about maybe 15 minutes to kind of work your way up.
But maybe to get out of the other room too?
You're going to end up in the other room, but with no detectable points that you could seep through.
Okay. Okay.
So you do get yourself back into the 10-foot room with the levers. And while you figure out what you're going to do next, we're going to go back to the party who's standing in front of the archway that the mists have now cleared.
Okay.
As you are effectively split the party.
So the mists have cleared and we can see like beyond the archway now.
Yep.
So I kind of look at the rest of the party and say, any ideas where Nox ended up? Some sort of teleportation, extraplanar travel?
Ariam is going to attempt to message Nox. It says it can pass through solid objects if I'm familiar with the target and know it's beyond the barrier. That might not work then.
That is going to be... Yeah, that's going to be what's going to... Also, the 1 foot of stone, the different thicknesses and stuff, all of that's going to stop. If you try to cast message, it would be hindered.
Okay.
I think you would even know so you're not really even wasting a slot. You would know that, the parameters of that spell. You would know what you need to know in order to cast it. Drake, give me a I'm gonna make it a perception check.
Okay. Okay. 15.
Okay. Yeah, so if you stay in your gaseous form for the full extent and just kind of maneuvering all around every crack and corner of this room, you cannot find any point that you can slip through. And you notice that when you return back to physical form, the levers are back in the center position.
Okay, I thought we were going back to the other guys.
Yeah, I just know we are. Sorry, I just wanted to kind of just give you that one opportunity there for something. So what are you guys doing at the Archway?
We're sending our 3 skeleton friends down the middle pathway.
So no problem. They walk down the pathway through the Archway, and as they walk about 10 feet into this room, they just kind of fade away. They just kind of, and they're not there anymore, almost as if they've passed into, it looked exactly as if they passed to the edge of your vision.
I pull on the rope that was attached to one of their waists.
He kind of stumbles backwards and reappears there.
Seems like it might be safe.
Yes, it appears so. Yeah, and after a cursory glance at the skeleton to make sure that nothing is amiss, she'll turn to Tilda and say, yes, I believe you're right. I guess we should hurry and try to find Knox. Hopefully he's all right.
Then we venture forth into the great beyond.
Because
And
I
start
have
walking.
yeah, I'll follow up behind him, and I'll go ahead and cast resistance on Thork since he's taken up point here.
So yeah,
right.
I'm following the red brick road and following the same path as the skeletons.
And you all just kind of seem to emerge into a room that is 10 feet wide and about 20 feet long. You can kind of see a narrow path off to the, this room seems to extend further eastward, the 20 feet. And you can see a narrow path kind of leading off to the southeast. And at that end of the room is what appears to be a statue of a gargoyle, 8 feet tall with 4 arms. And one of the arms is broken off and lies on the floor in front of the statue. And of course, your skeletons are all in this room now too.
I would recommend taking a moment and casting a magical abjuration in the form of a hut. I think if everybody's okay, I think we're going to dungeon crawl our way through this. This is the Tomb of Horrors. We've seen our friend disappear into nothingness. We've seen a baboon tail disintegrate into nothingness and have him fall a bloody corpse in front of us. This is not a place to fuck around. I think that we're going to take the time to cast another hut and then figure out what to do.
All right. Knox, what are you going to do in your little forsaken prison there?
Pray? No. Honestly, the only thing I can think of is I tried them all up. I tried them all down. Let's try them all to the left.
Nothing happens.
To the right.
Do you move them one at a time, or are you trying to like move them all at the same time?
I'm trying to kind of, I'm going to do like right to left, moving them to the right this time. I'll do the right, the center, or the left.
Nothing happens.
Okay. Let's do 2 up, 1 down. 2 up, center. Okay.
Nothing
I'm going to
happens.
try various combinations until something happens. Because I'll start getting annoyed and angry and just start hitting shit.
Give me just roll it. roll a percentile.
A percentile. Okay.
up, down, left, right.
That's 100 exactly. 100. That's a 0, so 100.
So as you're fiddling around with these, and you're just looking like a kid playing around in some kind of machinery, just knowing to avoid pressing all three down at the same time, you remember suddenly that when you pressed them all three down was when the floor fell out, and you've only been moving them one at a time so far, and that's when you just kind of using your hands on two of them and just kind of hip checking one of them, you slam all three of them in the upward position. And that is when there is in the ceiling a where do you go? Kind of near the back, the northern part of the room and near the ceiling, a small section of stone almost hisses.
Mm-hmm.
And an opening, a crawl space opens up.
I'm lunging for it. If it's, I don't know how long this thing's going to stay open, so I'm running for it.
All right, you find yourself in a narrow crawl space, and you're able to move about 20 feet to the north, where it appears to be a dead end.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there any other way to go?
Not that you can see.
Okay. I don't know, Jake.
Just tell me what you want to do.
Well, I'm in a dead end. Yeah, I want to see if there's anything. There's any secret things that I can find, investigate, take my time, look at the walls, anywhere I can get out of there.
Give me a perception check.
I mean, standard stuff, man.
This is like the worst place to put Drake. He's just getting so frustrated.
I am, because I don't feel like I have options here. 3.
What are you doing as you're looking around in this space?
I'm touching things. I just, like I said, even the character is getting frustrated. He's just touching the walls, grabbing things, pulling things, any little crevice he's trying to push on or get his claws in there and pull it. Anything that can get him out of this situation.
Finally, after so much frustration, you slam your fist against the wall and you kind of stand up just a little bit more than you should have, and you smack your head on the ceiling and you hear a slightly hollow sound.
Let's hit it again.
As you hit it, you kind of feel it just shift a little bit, and then you're able to kind of work it loose and realize that there's another tile there that opens up into a crawl space further up and to the east.
Keep on going, doing the same thing.
And so you follow this crawl space, and it's tight for you. You follow it for 20 feet to the east, and then about 50 feet to the north, and then it curves to the east again, and you end up at a section. You can clearly see it's a section of stone, but it looks like a door, and you're able to press through it, and you find yourself in a 10-foot by 10-foot spiked pit as the door closes behind you, and the lid up above you, 10 feet above you, is closed, but you can see the mechanism for the trap door above your head. You recognize this style.
I'm in the room that we started in. That was the foyer. Right?
You're in a pit. That's where you are. A closed pit.
Okay. I want to break the mechanism.
You brute strength break the mechanism. The lid kind of comes down, and you're just kind of hulk it off to the side. As you pull yourself out of the pit, you find yourself 20 feet from the end of a long corridor with a red path, standing 20 feet away from a devil face and an arched, mist-filled corridor.
And as I don't know what those are, is anyone still there, or did they go through the?
They all went through, and in fact, the archway is filled with vapors and mists.
Okay, and I wouldn't know the order that they did it in, so I would assume that they got through, and I would again keep just kind of using my halberd until I saw something different.
So while you're doing that, and you will eventually, as you're doing that, you'll eventually come across the right combination. We're going to go to the other party as they're puzzling this out while all of this took place.
Okay.
I'm beginning to feel for Ernie Gygax and some of Gary's original players. So back in the small room with the gargoyle, what are the other four of you doing? I believe Locrius cast another Leomund's tiny hut.
Yeah, I think we're chilling in the hut, trying to figure out our next move. So you mentioned there's a stone gargoyle and one of its arms is lying on the floor?
Yep, it has 3 arms and there's a 4th arm lying on the floor.
I look to Mixolydia and say, perhaps having one of your skeleton friends replace that arm, see what happens.
Excellent. Yes, brilliant idea. Virtue, make it so. And one of the skeletons will go and grab the arm and try to replace it.
So, yeah, it's able to pick it up, and it looks like it's the kind of off the shoulder blade, kind of the upper back right arm, which would be on the left as you're looking at it. And it kind of holds it up there, and it kind of shifts it around, and after a few moments, it just kind of stands there holding the arm and just kind of shrugs its bony shoulders at you as nothing appears to happen.
And so you said that there was a path that went off to one side of this room, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, just the stone gargoyle is kind of blocking the passage to this.
And when you say a path, is it like a red path that we've been following this whole time, or has that ended?
I'm sorry, say that again? Oh, the red path? No, the red path is gone.
Okay. So Mixolydia will step out of the hut, and she will have her skeletons take up formation, a defensive formation around this statue of the gargoyle, and inspect it. She'll try to investigate the gargoyle.
All right, give me an investigation.
That's a 5 on the die for a total of 12.
You're looking at this thing, and you're just kind of looking the whole thing over. And eventually, you just kind of see that the 3 remaining hands, each one of them is kind of stretched out in a different position and looks to be making a grasping motion. And you can see that each of these hands has a small carved depression in the hand. I don't know how much of that you heard. It looks like you dropped out.
I don't know why it keeps something keeps breaking out. The 3 hands are in a different position, and what?
They're all kind of outstretched, like as if to grasp something, and each one has a small carved depression in the palm. Each of the 3 hands that are attached.
Okay. What can I tell what the You know what? I think that Mixolydia would turn to her companions. I think that she would turn to Orium and say, I believe that your eye for detail might be better suited to this task. I can tell that there are impressions on these palms, but beyond that, I don't know what they are.
I'll certainly have a look. It's worth a shot.
Go ahead and
Investigation?
yep.
Ooh. 24.
You recognize these kinds of depressions in your long career. You've actually pried a few gemstones out of similar depressions in stone. It looks like each one of these hands may have at one time held a gemstone, or that a gemstone would fit perfectly in it.
Look at it. There might be something that goes here. A gem. Something valuable, probably. Maybe the 3 colors of the keystone and the archway stones that we saw earlier.
Well, maybe we can fan out a bit and see if it's around here somewhere. With our luck, it's going to be 5 levels deep in this tomb.
Or have something to do with that face statue up that was on the other side of the mist.
Hmm.
So is there any sign of where there's someplace these might be hidden or trapdoors? Ariam's going to be just kind of going along the wall, feeling for any sort of a trigger or a false wall, false panel, checking for traps as she goes.
Give investigation. Who do we lose now? Drake?
That one's only 13.
You don't
Thor's
find
also
anything.
going to be checking the west wall.
Okay, go ahead.
West, north.
Investigate.
1.
Thork is on the westernmost wall that you guys came through, pounding on the solid wall. I'm sure there's a door here. You're convinced there's some kind of door there that's not. You are able to see that very clearly. That I think I may have misled you earlier. The statue is not actually blocking the passage to that little narrow passage, but that's the only point of egress from this room that you can see.
Okay, but we could get past the statue and go down the hallway in theory.
Yeah, if you wanted to. And that's where you would find Drake's dead body. Oh, hey, Drake. I see you're back.
For a second until it kicks me out again, yeah.
At this point, as you guys have been investigating and looking around and figuring things out, and as Thork is kind of pressing against this wall, determined that he's going to find a doorway, Knox passes through the wall immediately in front of you and kind of presses into you in an almost romantic way, I guess. You guys are that close. As you eventually figured out, Knox, the pattern and made the mist disappear and were able to walk through.
Okay.
So, yeah, the statue...
Guys, I found my lost companion. Shower me with praises.
Good boy, Thorg. Well done.
So you can either continue to investigate the statue or you can move down this passageway.
Jake, thinking back to like all of the frescoes and everything that we passed, were there any gems inlaid anywhere in any of the things that I can remember?
No, and you would have noticed with all the firelight dancing around, and I think Ariam most definitely would have noticed that.
Absolutely. And
Uh,
what about the arm that's been broken off? Does that have a depression also?
No, it does not.
That's odd. Perhaps someone got frustrated by this infernal place and smashed the arm.
Tilda, did your brother have a temper?
He did. One of the reasons why he left in the first place. I wouldn't be surprised if this was his handiwork.
Well, seeing Nox back, Ariam will just kind of give him the little nod and move down the hallway.
All right, so you are moving down this narrow. This hallway is only 5 feet wide, and it goes about 10 feet to the southwest, and then curves and goes about 20 feet to the east, where you can see some kind of light. And you can actually see from the tunnel, you can faintly see that you are looking through some kind, you can't make out what it is, but some kind of illusory image, and you can just faintly see into that you look like you're kind of, if you were to pass through this illusion, you're at the end of a 20-foot wide corridor that extends somewhere to the south and looks nothing like the corridor you originally came into.
Are there?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
Are there markings or mosaic on the floor for this?
In the tunnel you're in, there's absolutely nothing, and the hall that you can see doesn't appear to have a mosaic floor or any kind of path outlaid in it, or inlaid, I should say.
Mixolydia will nod to the illusory phenomenon in front of us and say, I've read about things like this, arcane trickery to befuddle the senses. I could potentially dispel this effect before we continue. Or what do you think, companions? Would it be wiser to see it out before choosing that route?
I think as many threats as we can rid ourselves of, the better. Yes, let's dispel it.
Absolutely. And with a few magical words and gesticulations, she holds her staff high. It's carved of a white alabaster-like wood, and the countenance on it for a brief moment changes from an elven countenance to that of a skull, as a flash of cold white light appears at the point of this illusory effect as I cast Dispel Magic.
Using your spellcasting ability modifier, give me a check.
All right. So that's going to be with a proficiency or no? Do I get a proficiency? How does that work?
It's whatever your spellcasting modifier is, which includes your proficiency bonus.
Okay, cool. So that's a 6 on the die plus 7 is a 13.
Your spell goes off without a hitch, but the illusion does not waver.
Ah,
It appears
I'm-
to be of much stronger magic.
I imagine that there's sort of a sputtering at the end of the staff. A few arcane sparks fly off. She taps it on the ground. It is a strong incantation that caused this phenomenon. We should tread lightly. Valiance, go forth and check that the way is clear, and she will send one of the skeletons off.
The skeleton kind of sidles past you in the narrow corridor and passes through the illusion into the hallway beyond. And nothing happens to it.
Seems okay.
And we can see it still.
Yep. It's kind of faint, like looking through thin curtains or something like that as you're looking through whatever this illusion is.
Ariel will shrug and follow the skeleton.
And I'll
It's good
I'll come
enough
behind
for
her.
work.
Mixolydia will reach into a pack and pull out a piece of chalk. She will bend down and sandwich it between the foot bone of one of her skeletons so that it leaves a trail as we walk.
Interesting. All right. So you and all of you and your skeleton posse are able to pass through this illusion, and you find yourself in a chamber, rather a corridor that appears to be almost identical in terms of dimensions to the previous corridor that you were in before, except the colors seem to be of a more muted palette, though by no means dimmed by time. And what you see in this chamber that's different than all the frescoes and whatnot is at seemingly random intervals. Most of them seem to be about 5 feet apart, but some of them are 10 and occasionally 20 on both sides of this corridor. It is lined with two-dimensional images of various humans and human-like creatures. And all of them are posing with spheres of different colors. In fact, you can see that one of them you pass through was a humanoid figure holding a golden sphere high over its head. And this is an illusion covering the doorway you just passed through. Across the hall is one holding a pale blue sphere at its shoulder. All along the way, you can see different colored spheres held at different positions, either up above the head, at a shoulder, at a waist, down at the feet. On the western wall, 20 feet beyond you, you see a door. Another 20 feet beyond that, on the same wall, is another door. Beyond that, your light doesn't extend. How would you like to proceed?
Ariel will send a mage hand up to one of the other statues and just let it kind of pass through and see if one of those is an illusion as well.
They're not statues. They're actually like depicted in illustrations on the wall, but
Okay.
you can still do that. So the closest ones are across the hall is the one with a pale blue sphere. Just south of the wall where you were is an orange one held waist high. And then across the hall from that is a silver one held by its feet. And as you touch those nearby ones with your mage hand, it just presses firmly up against the illustration on the wall, not passing through any sort of illusion. Then there's about a 15-foot gap where south of the one you touched, south of your illusion, there's a door set into the wall.
And what was the one that we walked through?
It was a golden sphere held high overhead of this humanoid figure.
How many are there total? Is a gold, a blue, an orange, a silver?
From what you can see from where you are, you can see a total of 6 of them. But this corridor appears to go on for quite a ways.
Yeah, Mixolydia would think back in any of the dusty tomes that she's made her home over the past hundreds of years. Has she heard of anything like this? Can she discern any pattern to where they're holding the things, or the color of the things, or the nature of the humanoids?
Give me a history check.
That's a total of 9.
You've never seen anything like this. None of these illustrations, even as you look closer, you can see symbols and glyphs all worked into the designs, and none of it makes any sense to you.
I think the frustration would set in, and she'd start sort of bickering out loud. This place is ridiculous. It has no rhyme or reason. It's like an idiot child was let loose with an immense amount of gold to create a twisted fun house of horror. Ah.
All right, what's everybody else doing?
I have no idea what we're doing at this point, man.
Hey,
What did I
welcome
miss?
back.
You're in a long corridor, Drake, that's lined with illustrations of humanoid figures holding colored spheres at different positions, one of which was an illusion blocking the pathway that you just came through.
You mentioned
And
there were a couple of...
There's a couple of doors
Okay.
south of you on the west wall.
I'm going to head towards the nearest door then.
All right.
If there's obvious exits, I'm going to take them. And probably die.
Are you just going to open the door?
No, I'll walk up to the door. I'll make sure my companions are with me, and I'll do the old put my ear to the door and listen, see under the door if I can, just kind of look over it. And I'm not going to open it until the rogue takes a look at it as well.
Yeah, as you kind of just give it a visual inspection, it looks to be a pretty standard door made of banded oak. You see darkness through the narrow crack underneath it. It has an iron pull ring on it that would allow it to be pulled in to open into the room. And if Ariam then would like to check it out.
Yes, I would definitely look and see if it seems suspect or trapped or anything.
Go ahead and give an investigation check.
Oh. My dice roll off the table. Let's try again. That's 23.
You are looking this door over completely, and you cannot see anything to indicate that there's any kind of trap to the door. It appears to be a normal door. And then you notice that the hinges appear to be just a little too heavy for this kind of door.
She like kind of puts her hand on the handle and maybe starts to push and then looks at the hinges again. Something is just a little weird about this.
That's all you can tell beyond that. Even with that check, you can't determine if it actually is a trap or any kind of mechanism or anything like that. They're basically just like overkill hinges.
And then everybody just back it up a little bit. And she'll get back about 30 feet and then use Mage Hand to open the door.
The most you can move is 20 feet.
Oh, she'll move back 20 feet. And
Well, I'm sorry. Actually, I take that back because you can move north or south. If you moved straight across from the door, you can only go 20 feet across the hallway.
yeah, she'll go diagonal. And get to where she's 30 feet and then use the Mage Hand.
The Mage Hand begins to pull on the ring of the door, and the ring is fully extended, and the door itself is just too heavy for the limits of what the Mage Hand is capable of doing.
Well done spotting those hinges. Would you like me to send one of these skeletons to pull to perhaps have a little bit more force?
Certainly. Better them than me.
Absolutely. And so Mixolydia will send one of the skeletons to pull the door open.
What's the skeleton's AC? Doesn't matter. 22. I imagine hits your skeleton. As the door opens, it just seems to strain for a moment, and then as the door comes open, there's a metallic clang, and a spear smashes into your skeleton, dealing where did it go? 9 points of piercing damage as the spear just smacks it and knocks it backward. And the door is now open, and the spear has fired out of what you can see is basically just a stone wall with a mechanism that enabled it to fire a spear out of a hole in the center.
And I imagine that the skeleton is pierced against the opposite wall by this huge spear, and there's a shattering of bone. But Mixolydia's skeletons are made of stronger stuff than that. It still stands.
Wow.
So Thork moves on to the second door and investigates. He's proficient with wood carving and smith's tools, so he's looking to see if there's anything that he recognizes that could be different about the second door.
Give me an investigation check.
Yep.
If you said
16.
something that didn't come through. You recognize that this door is an average made banded wooden oak door, very similar in construction to the other one, but you don't really notice anything out of the ordinary about it.
Hey guys, this door looks normal.
I mean, you can open it, but I'd stand to one side.
No, I say we have our bony friends open this one.
Thork, the junior necromancer.
Now, Jake, did the door that was open, was there actually anything beyond it or no?
No, just a stone wall with a spear trap mechanism.
Okay, gotcha. So, yeah, again, we'll say Mixolydia has just finished. I imagine that we see her fingertip glowing white like E.T. as she's carefully, meticulously mending the rib bones of her skeleton. She sighs and sends him off again, the same one, to open the next door.
As the door pulls open, there's another metallic twang as another spear fires out. with a 27 to hit, dealing 8 points of piercing damage.
Yep, that exactly does him in.
As the skeleton shatters into the hallway. 2 westerly doors both appear now open to have been trapped. But you can see that there are more of these decorative spear icons, and the hallway continues on for several more feet. Many more feet.
Say we just continue down the hallway.
Yeah, skip the doors.
Yeah. I'm assuming
Fortunately, you don't
if there's an obvious easy way out or in, it's probably a death trap. So
you don't see any more doors. You do see all along the walls several more of these depictions holding spheres at different levels. And if you continue down the hallway, you would pass a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 of them. So if at any point in, say, 10-foot intervals, you want to do anything to any of them, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll assume you're continuing on down the hall.
Mixolydia is going to have one skeleton on either side of the hallway walking down, and they're going to tap the wall as they go. We walked through an illusion of one, so there clearly could be another one, so they're going to test the walls as we go.
Okay. As you proceed further from the south of where these doors were, they're just kind of going along, tapping the wall, tap, 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 and about 30 feet down on the easternmost wall, a depiction of a crow-headed woman with a black orb at her feet. One of your skeletons goes to tap the wall and just kind of falls through. You see his feet just kind of dangling out into the hallway as it seems to have fallen prone on the other side of this illusion.
Aha. Well, that was relatively easy for this place. What does everybody think? Should we continue in through where the illusion is, or should we go to the end of the hallway?
let's leave the hallway of death doors and go someplace else.
Agreed.
Agreed.
So
Let's follow the skeleton.
Sorry, I was distracted. It appears Drake is having numerous technical difficulties. He's quiet because he can't hear us, so he's going to try to continue to sort it out on his end. So you guys are going to go through the illusory image.
Did the skeleton come back unharmed after picking itself up?
Yeah.
And knowing a little bit about illusions and, wanting to tread carefully in this place because that's important, I think Mixolydia would test the illusion and see if she could see through it to the other side before just stepping blindly through.
You find yourself in a narrow, what's little more than a crawlway, about 5 feet wide. You basically can stoop low and you can maneuver through it. It seems to continue on for about 30 feet and then veers south.
Unless there's any objections, I think we'll send the skeleton, one of the skeletons first, and then follow after.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, so you send your skeleton in and you kind of follow along single file. And The tunnel indeed turns to the south for 30 feet and then goes back west for 30 feet, veers slightly southwest for about 50 feet, turns south for another 25 feet, wends slightly to the southwest for 10 feet. You follow it another 30 feet to the south, 50 feet to the east, 20 feet to the south, where you find yourself at a wall of solid stone.
So it's a dead end? Oh, sorry, Lucas.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Mixolydia sighs and says, I'm beginning to lose my patience in this place. Orium, Tilda, you two both seem to have a good sense of direction, as it were. Do you think we need to continue on southward? I believe we've been traveling southward for some ways. Is this the way that we need to go?
I am normally pretty good with directions while underground, but this place has a dizzying way about it. If you give me a moment, I can inspect the stone here, see if I can maybe glean some sort of information. But yes, we may need to backtrack. So Jake, I'd like to just look over the stonework of this dead end if I could.
Okay.
Nope.
From what you can tell, it appears to be a dead end.
Looks fairly solid to me. Unless anyone has any objections, I think we need to go back.
Thork nods and gives a sturdy kick to the dead end in frustration.
It just seems an odd place for a dead end. Why put an illusion to hide a passage that goes nowhere?
Is there anything up on the ceiling? Is it still maybe 20 feet high here?
Oh, no, it's not 20 feet high. You're in a crawlway. You've been in a narrow crawlway this whole way.
Okay. And, I mean, it's a solid dead end?
As far as you can tell, yes. Just giving it a quick visual look.
Oh, no, I want to go up and touch it, like knock on it.
You can check out, just kind of check the whole thing out.
Mhm.
Go ahead and give me a perception check.
That is going to be 20, non-natural.
You can see why Mixolydia and even Tilda just saw a dead end. You almost give up in defeat, and then you just barely see the seam of a secret door. Like you, in fact, as you see it, it takes you a second to find it again. It's that well concealed.
Ah, here. Come back. Don't go.
And you can tell that if you push on it, you will open this secret door.
I definitely pushed on it.
Door opens up into what you can tell is obviously some sort of temple area. You can see this room from where you can see it extends on quite a ways. Even beyond it, well, even with your dark vision, you can see dimly that it goes 100 feet. You appear to be opening into the corner of this room. There are scenes of normal life painted on the walls, but all of the people in these paintings have rotting flesh, skeletal hands, worms eating them, and so on. But there's also depicted various religious symbols of good alignment. Starting right where you are, there's a mosaic path leading from where you come out of this secret door to the west about 30 feet and down the center of the room where it goes between 4 rows of wooden pews that are facing the south of this room, which appears to be some sort of worship area. In front of the pews is a wooden railing dividing the room. And just south of that is an altar in front of a tiered dais on which sits a wooden chair.
Mixolydia, have you seen anything like this in your books?
Well, I've studied anatomy to be sure, and I've studied the ways of arcane spellcasting. However, these are clearly effigies of a religious matter, which is not my sphere of expertise. Tilda, what do you make of this?
Tilda's already sort of like looking over the religious sort of imagery. I'd like to try and see if there are any sort of symbols or scenes that are familiar to me, if I could, Jake, with a religion check.
Go ahead.
Oh my God, 12.
You recognize faintly some of the religious symbolism, this various sigils, holy symbols, and variations. Some of them archaic, but it seems to be a mishmash of various deities represented.
Seems like a weird sort of combination of things. Some I recognize, some I don't. They don't seem to have any rhyme or reason or pattern to them.
Ariam will kind of walk around and get to the altar, see if there's a chest or some gems or anything that looks valuable.
So you're moving further into the room?
Yes. Very cautiously.
You're able to maneuver along, whether on the path or off of it, in this room. You're able to, as you're moving cautiously, no floor panels drop away. You see, it's like 2 columns of pews, so 4 rows, a single pew on either side. So there's a total of 8 pews facing the front of this worship area. As you kind of get a little further in the room, you can see better the dais on the south wall. And you can see that the chair that sits upon it is nicely carved and padded, but otherwise seems unremarkable. On either side of the dais are large, freestanding brass candelabras, each holding 5 white candles. In each corner on the southern wall is a large white pottery urn stoppered with a brass and wood plug. Just as you get to where the front pews are, you can see off to the west, sprawled on the floor near the wall, is a human skeleton in black chainmail that is badly rusted and damaged. The skeleton's outstretched arm points to a stone archway set in the wall. and the opening is filled with opaque, bright orange vapors. So just a quick recap. You've got a dais, an unremarkable chair, some stoppered urns, some brass candelabras, a total of 8 pews, and a skeleton pointing at an archway with orange vapors.
Are the candles lit?
They are not.
Does it look like they have been lit? Like, are they new, or did they have like the black wick?
It looks like they've been lit previously.
All right. What about
Thork's
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thork's going up and down the pews right now, one by one, sort of searching for clues and sort of grunting in frustration.
All right. So give me a perception check as you're maneuvering through these pews.
$20, not nat.
So in the first row of pews, you notice as you're kind of going through them that each of these pews, the seat actually has hinges on them. Like the seat itself could lift up.
Guys, I've appeared to have found a secret. The hinges on these pews, they seem to lift up, and by no means they're going to show us the secret to escape this place. Come here.
Is it like a piano bench where there's like a lower part?
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Ariam will go up to the bench that he's nearest to and check it for traps and then open it.
All right. Perception.
20 non-natural.
You do not find any traps.
I cautiously lift the lid.
So in this back row where he found these, there's 2 pews. And in this row, each of these 2 pews has a total of 4,000 silver pieces. Just spread all over the inside.
Ooh, shiny, guys.
Basically, for each row, and there's a total of 4 rows, you'll need to do the same check again for each row, if you wish to continue looking in piano benches.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So go for the second row. Give me your check.
18.
Doesn't appear to be trapped.
After the second one's not trapped, she's just gonna perhaps foolishly trust the third and fourth.
Okay. In the the second row of pews, you find in each pew 3,000 electrum pieces. In the third row, you just lift up the door lid and you find in each pew 2,000 gold pieces. So already just laden with gold, electrum, and silver pieces. There's just the 2 more pews left.
I will get suspicious at this point and check those.
Okay.
It's getting more expensive.
All
That's
right.
suspect. That is highly suspect.
Give me a check.
16.
No traps as far as you can tell.
Okay, she'll open it.
You open up the hinge on the front pew, and as soon as you lift it up, you kind of see a glint, and you realize that it's not the glint of gold or electrum, but a brass rod connected to the hinge as you lifted the rod or lifted the lid,
Uh-oh.
and it's attached to canisters.
Uh-oh.
And as soon as you lift it, gas begins to fill the room.
Sorry, guys.
I need you and Thork to make a Constitution saving throw.
Couldn't have said Dex.
26.
9.
Thork, you will not be poisoned. You just don't allow the poison in your body. Ariam, you now have the poisoned condition. The gas is rapidly filling the room, and in a matter of seconds, will fill this entire room. Your only points of egress are the door you came through or the archway in the front southwest corner of the room with the orange vapors. Because Thork and Ariam were caught in the gas, I'm going to give Mixolydia and Tilda an opportunity to react.
So I imagine that Mixolydia is investigating these candelabras. They each have the 5 white candles, and she is almost lackadaisically at this point. Things have been, we've been grinding our way through this horror show of a dungeon. And I imagine she lights one candle, she lights another one, then all of a sudden there's the whoosh of gas. They snuff out. She looks over and would it be visible? Can we see, is it like a nasty green gas or something, Jake? Do we know what's going on?
Yeah, it's very clearly like this noxious green gas.
And he would see.
And
oh yeah,
I'm going to give you, before you react to that, I'm going to give you each a moment to kind of backtrack. The gas is going to go off no matter what, but it took them a few moments to kind of go through these pews. So I want to know, while they were searching them and until they got to this last pew and released the gas, what were you guys doing? So you were at the front by the altar looking at the candelabras. What else would you be doing up there, and where would you be, Tilda?
I mean, I feel like I feel like I would just be looking at those candelabras and the necromantic pictures on the walls.
Yeah, and I think I would be investigating the religious icons on the walls, so I'm not too far away.
I'm sorry, Matt, you were doing what?
Looking at the religious icons on the walls.
Okay. Lots of grotesque figures, things like that. Sorry, I'll have you repeat to what you were doing, Locrius. Just real quick, Drake's out for the rest of this session. He just can't get his tech issues figured out. So what were you doing, Locrius? You were...
he'd be investigating investigating the grotesque necromantic motherfuckers on the walls.
Yeah, so you guys you just see all these depictions of various good aligned deities intermixed with what look like just normal scenes of people doing day-to-day activities, but the people are depicted in grotesque fashion. And as you've kind of worked your way up to the front and you've kind of moved on to these candelabras, that's when you hear the click whoosh and gas begins to fill the room. And at this point, you have very limited time before this gas is going to fill this room, and you need to figure out where you're going to go.
Mixolydia would see this happen again. You know, we flash back, we see she's lighting the candles. There's the whoosh. She looks back, she sees her companions coughing in this cloud of noxious gas. Realizing that something has to happen right away, she runs as fast as her spindly blue legs will take her over to this portal with the glowy, wispy orange energy in front of it. She looks down, a horrible effigy of death, the skeletal remains of a former adventurer standing before it. She thinks for a moment. She steps to the side and she holds up her staff, and you hear incantations like the toll of a bell on a Sunday morning. There's a flash of light that comes from her very body that shoots forward in a diagonal pattern. We see there is the portal here. She stands sideways, and as she does so, a shaft of light shoots into the wall, through the wall, and the wall gives way. A resplendent archway takes form in the matter of moments as I cast Pass Wall diagonally through the motherfucking wall towards where the exit of this portal would go. So it's the first time I ever cast this spell. I picked it out specifically for the Tomb of Horrors because I figured it might come in handy. So you can make a passage of your choice up to 5 feet wide, 8 feet tall, and 20 feet deep. It does not cause any structural instability, and it lasts for an hour. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to make a fucking diagonal tunnel to behind where this door is.
Next to the orange, misty thing.
Trying to just bypass that shit.
Interesting. As I consult Acererak's journal. Okay. I've actually...
I know that's a curveball, Jake, but we're going to...
No, that's fine. I've never seen the spell used before. I'm just trying to make sure I understand it. It lasts for 1 hour. You've definitely created a passage through which you can all go. And you're all close enough to it that you can make it before the room fills with gas.
And she would yell out to her companions, "Run swiftly! I've made a path!"
And just so I'm understanding this, you were angling it, kind of trying to guesstimate where the other side of this mist would go?
Yeah, man. I mean, I know it's going to be a crapshoot, but exactly, yeah. I imagine that there's the doors here, and the pass wall is going to try to go like diagonally behind it. I mean, sort of catty corner. We'll see.
I just wanted to make sure I fully understand what the hell you're doing.
And I'll go first, because if anyone's going to fall to their death from these shenanigans, it's going to be me.
Well, this is interesting. So basically, you have created a pass that puts you through the wall and into this room on the other side of where this orange mist was. As soon as you all emerge into this room, Thork, you feel your body change as certain anatomical portions of your body vanish and recede into themselves, and you grow breasts. Tilda, you experience a similar change. Arium, Mixolodia, you all change gender. And whatever predisposition you have toward your alignment, so the cleric of good alignment, you're now feeling the opposite. Basically, mechanically, everybody just changed gender and alignment.
What kind of Gary Gygax bullshit is this?
Holy crap! Oh my god!
What the hell, Gary?
Now, this was written in 1975.
Oh my god!
It's amazing.
Damn!
I'm gonna lay down on the gas cloud and let death take me. I'm just gonna oh, the sweet release that death will bring.
Your archway lasts for your passageway lasts for an hour.
Correct.
And after even less than half that time, the gas actually dissipates from the room beyond.
So this is interesting. It's a quite a strange anomaly that has just befallen us. Yeah. I don't know. Let's you know what? Let's take that money and let's just leave. I don't know. I feel like I have a new lease on life. Let's just get out of here and spend. Let's go to the tavern and see.
I don't care about my brother at all anymore. I don't even remember his name. We have all of this gold, enough to retire on. I say we hightail it out of here and buy a castle. Start conquering people.
I still kind of want my gold. I don't know.
I'm just waiting for Thork to speak.
Come on, Thork.
Screw it, guys. Let's get the gold and go home.
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Oh, we jumped the shark. I don't know what's happening.
Oh my God.
I didn't expect this.
You know what?
We can't end like this, guys.
We came prepared for a lot of things. We had baboons and skeletons. We were doing good.
Oh my gosh.
I just picture it's 1975. Gary Gygax is sitting at his typewriter and he just is coked out of his mind. And
How can I screw with players even more?
Oh man, it's here.
So Thork being very gender confused and just all sorts of emotions flowing through him, she starts to cry and like wave her hands. It's just like, I just want my gold and to go home. So she goes back through the portal and starts scooping up the gold pieces and putting
Into the poison room?
The poison's dissipated by now.
Oh, okay.
You do have, for another half hour, you do have access to go back into this room.
Do we change back?
Yeah, do I change back when I go back?
It's passable. You have freedom to pass back. You can experiment.
Yes.
It's already an experiment.
Do I turn back into a man?
Anybody that goes through back into the room, you will regain your original alignment, and you will take 7 points of psychic damage as the shock of these sudden psychological shifts takes place.
So I gain my alignment. Do I still have breasts?
You're still a woman, but you're back to your original alignment. you got
Silence.
Drunk as Jake.
Either I read this whole thing and I guess I just forgot about that.
Guys, I feel the sudden urge to continue on in my righteous journey, but my voice has still changed and my figure slight.
Oh boy.
Jake, is there
All right,
anything?
so you're all.
Is there
Go
anything
ahead,
else
Chris.
in this room that we ended up in? Is there any other exits from it or anything?
No, it's just a 10 by 10 room that forces drastic changes upon you involuntarily. I know this is Gygaxian, but this just feels dirty.
It's weird. Well, I imagine that after a little bit of discussing, like, giving up our life of adventuring and going and, I don't know, starting a cult or whatever the fuck we decide, I imagine we eventually walk back into that room where the half-orc walked into, and then we revert to our original alignment, but we are still switched genders, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I suppose we should try to find a way to continue. What do you think, Tilda?
I'm feeling very confused, but yes, I think you are right. I think my particular garments at the moment are feeling very restricting, though, so I may need to. I may need to have them re-tailored back in town.
I know what you mean.
I think we are all feeling a very similar way.
I feel fine. Maybe men should wear dresses. This feels great.
I'm so mad that Drake dropped out, that he couldn't continue. Oh my gosh. All right,
All right, Jake,
So-
I'm going to go inspect that chair on the fucking dais. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay. Oh, let's get back on track for a little bit here. Woo. Okay, so you basically, we're back to, you're back in the room after just a few minutes. The pass wall dissipates. There's still the orange archway that nobody wants to go near now. The pews, one of which in the front row you didn't open. The altar with the chair on it. On this altar where this chair is, on this dais, there's actually a strange material that is glowing with an inner light of an opalescent blue. The chair otherwise appears unremarkable.
Can we determine exactly like the light source?
It seems to just be coming from like an inner light.
Mixolydia will begin inscribing small runic circles on the ground and ritually cast the Identify spell, which is normally used for magic items, but she's going to try to use it. Says I'm tired. My brain is not working properly, so I apologize. You choose an object which you must touch throughout the casting of the spell. If it's a magic item or some other magic imbued object, you learn the properties and how to use them. You learn whether any spells are affecting the item and what they are. If the item was created by a spell, you learn which spell created it.
All right, and you have to touch the object to identify it.
That is true, Jake. I will touch the object.
Okay. So you cast your spell and you touch it to begin determining what this thing is. And I need you to make a DC. Not going to tell you the DC. I need you to make a saving throw, and I'll tell you what kind in a moment here. As a massive blue lightning bolt streaks down the center aisle towards you, Lydia. You are going to make a dexterity save. Dexterity. Is that dexterity? Yeah, dexterity saving throw. I didn't.
That is a total of 12.
So you will be taking 10, 18, 25, 26, 27, 28 points of lightning damage as this lightning bolt just streaks down the center aisle and hits you right in the back.
There is a tingling on the back of Lydia's neck. She smells that ozone in the air. She hears the crackling with but an arcane word. As this lightning bolt hits her, she is sheathed in a similar blue lightning energy as I cast Absorb Elements to half the damage.
Holy nice. All right, take half the damage.
So what was the total?
Math. I think I said 26.
So 13.
13. And I think it's safe to say you have a fairly good idea of what this altar does now. However, it is no longer glowing with an inner blue light, but a fiery blue-red.
I imagine that his hair is sticking out like a fucking 80s rock star, all fucking after getting hit by a lightning bolt. He turns to his friends and says, apparently the altar has the ability to cast lightning bolts on people.
I noticed.
Hang on, friend. I've got you. And Tilda will walk up and put a hand on whatever name you choose to go by now, and will
Max Lydia.
Yeah, yeah, Max Lydia. I like that. We'll cast Cure Wounds as a 4th level spell, which will do 4d8 healing. So let me go ahead and roll that. So 9, 10, 16, 20 HP.
Damn.
All right. Anybody else want to touch the altar or inspect any other parts of this room? The only other point of egress that you can see is the crawlway you came through.
Can I try walking through that passway again and see if I turn back into a girl?
The actual bypass that was put in place is gone, but the actual archway through the orange mist is still present. The orange mist, which goes the same place.
I am suspicious.
I think
What
that's
about-
validated.
What about the skeleton? What about the deceased hero that lays before the portal? Has anyone looked at that?
Nope.
I can inspect it, and I'll go check it out.
It appears to be a long dead adventurer, scorched black by fire, and whether it fell this way or was positioned this way, you do not know, but it is simply pointing at the archway. It's black chain mail, burned. It's really badly rusted. All the leather is burned away. Otherwise, nothing of significance on the skeleton.
Nothing catching my eye, except that it's pointing towards that archway.
What about the urns? There were white urns, right? I'll go inspect the urns. No, scratch that. The forces of goodness will go and inspect the urns, aka the skeletons.
Sorry, that whole room just threw me off. Yes, the pottery urns, stoppered with brass and wooden plugs. They appear to be filled with ash of some sort.
Well, these appear to be filled with ash of some sort. We're all broken, Jake. We're completely broken by now.
No one knows what to do.
Did we open all of the
There's
opened
one
all
more
the
pew,
bins.
isn't there? Didn't we miss a pew?
There was one more pew in the front that hadn't been opened.
Can I check it for traps?
Yes, you can.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's 26.
You can see what you missed before, that the hinges on this pew are heavier. And having already seen inside one of this other trap, you can tell that these hinges are heavier to accommodate the pistons that activate the gas within. This pew is trapped.
Was there anything inside the other trapped pew? Besides the gas, now that we've got it open?
No, it was empty other than the gas canister.
Okay, she'll just shake her head, go, don't open that. Don't open that.
I don't think I'm going to open anything ever again in this place.
Do you think your brother's your sister now?
At this point, I would not be surprised if he came through this room. It is entirely possible that he is now a she.
I would actually, I would like Mixolydia and Tilda to give me perception checks.
That's a critical fail.
I got a total of 16.
So you had previously been, while the other two were rummaging through these pews, you had previously been kind of inspecting along the walls, looking at all these paintings, and you didn't notice it at the time, and then obviously we're distracted by other things. But as you're kind of just determining what you're going to do next, something in the way the light plays on the wall, the eastern wall opposite the archway, you notice something in that part of the wall that you just kind of see this slot. It's a very small slot from where you're looking. And if you look closer at it, you'll actually see that the small slot has a faint letter O traced above it. You'd have to get closer to determine anything more. But it's just from this angle, the light is just right that you can see this slot in the wall.
I imagine this happens when we're all bedraggled and maybe like taking a rest. Perhaps, we're all just like, yeah, not for mechanical purposes, just because this place has ground us down. And I imagine that he sees it and doesn't think anything of it, and then sees it again. And he'll elbow whoever's to his side. He'll elbow Aurum, and he'll say, "There's something there." No, am I imagining things? What is that? It's directly opposite the other portal. And he'll get up and go over to investigate.
And what you can see now is clearly a set right into the stone is a slot. Maybe a quarter of an inch at most in thickness. It looks like it's just big enough. Well, for all intents and purposes, it looks like a coin slot. And it has a circular O in relief just above it.
There's a coin slot with an O above it.
Ariam comes over, her pockets jingling a little bit with all the gold she's stuffed in them from the benches. But we have coins. Do we put one in?
I'm afraid what's going to happen if we do, but we have plenty of coins now.
Oh, what does O signify? Platinum, electrum,
Open?
copper, gold? Is there an elemental symbol for any of those metals that would correspond with that?
It looks like just a plain O.
Maybe it
Zero.
means it'll open a door.
But everything in this place has been devised to kill us in a meticulous and hilarious manner.
Sorry. What I saw on my end was Mike click his mic off, stare into the camera, and then change his mind, apparently.
Thorkeisha is very confused and continues to try and adjust her chainmail because, she's slimmed down and just nothing's fitting quite right. And without even thinking or consulting with her comrade, she puts what are they called? The EPs, the
Electrum pieces.
electrum pieces into the slot.
You slip an electrum coin into the slot, and you hear a metallic on stone sound as it drops through. And you see a section of the wall that's actually in almost like a trapezoidal, where it's narrower at the top and wider at the base, actually just goes revealing a passageway, a stone chamber, 10 foot by 10 foot, with stairs leading down to the south.
Aram elbows Max. See, I told you O stood for open.
And that is where we're going to stop for tonight. We will obviously have to figure out a time when we can get together for a part 2 and continue through this tomb, hopefully with Drake. I got to ask, because this is such a different and unique experience. What is everybody thinking of this thing?
Frustrated.
I want a map.
I agree. I think a map would be nice. It is a little bit hard to keep things together. I think you're doing a great job portraying the spirit of this dungeon, which everybody says is a huge fucking pain in the ass, and it's a huge fucking pain in the ass. So, but I think you're doing the right thing, like, you know, not giving us anything and just putting the sheer absurdity of the Tomb of Horrors in front of us and making us fucking figure the shit out. I think it's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, Gary originally designed this thing because his characters had become nigh invincible. His players with you know, Tensor, and I can't remember the other guy's character's name in particular. And he designed this in such a way to challenge them. And yeah, it's a thinking person's dungeon. It's not a brute force dungeon. And it's laden with it's I love it. Obviously I know a lot more what's going on behind the scenes. But it's frustrating because it's so much different than what we're used to running or playing. And you're just going into it so blind. And honestly, I read this entire thing through once completely and went through a lot of key parts, and I must have glossed over that orange sherbet room and what actually all it did. Because that, wow.
That shit really sealed the deal for, like, the old school ridiculousness that used to take place. Like, that really was like, okay, all right, we're in there now.
Yeah, that was what made it really evident for me was, well, there were two moments where I was like, oh, this is like old school. It was the fact that the pit traps had no real pattern at the beginning, and it was just like, no, you're going to fall in some, like, there's nothing you can do. Like, you're going to fall in some, and it's just like, you just have to try to survive them. And then it was the gender swap in the orange room, like, just very old school, like, dungeon crawl sensibilities, where it's just like constantly taxing you, like, in a way that doesn't necessarily make any logical sense, you know? And I come from a mindset of, like, if you come up to a trap or a puzzle, like, there's something that you can latch onto. And in this, it's a lot of, like, just trial and error sort of stuff, which is just, it's just a different mindset that you have to get used to.
What about you, Taylor?
Yeah, it's very different than anything I've played, and I'm a really visual person. Uh, so I think I just have a hard time picturing something like the keystone at the top and remembering which colors go where, and uh, it's really good in a just kind of almost rite of passage. You got to do it once kind of way.
Yeah, exactly. Being able to say like I got my ass kicked in Tomb of Horrors, like
I changed genders in Tomb of Horrors.
Exactly. Like the gas trap in the temple went off, and we all swapped genders
Yeah.
and alignments. That was the best part, was the alignment swap. Like,
Yeah.
my God, like going from lawful good to chaotic evil in an instant. Like it would just shred your sanity.
What about you, Mike?
So yeah, figuring out when all the different pathways go to the south, the west, and trying to keep that all straight and what we've searched and what we haven't, but intentionally building sort of this brute force character, and just it's not that type of dungeon. It's that's part that's gotten me down more so even than the gender change and the get over that. It's just not being able to contribute, at least to this point yet. That's been a little frustrating for me.
So normally one of the things I generally do when I run a game, even if it's a first part or and this, looking at what's left, I honestly think this is one more session. It's not a 3-parter, because you're either going to get to the end or you're all going to die. But normally I like to say, oh man, you guys have totally missed this thing, or you could have done this. But I'm not going to do any of that because of the nature of this. And it's not necessarily that the tomb has a lot of replayability, but there's a lot of things that I don't want to cheapen anything if you decide you're going to, backtrack to a certain area or anything like that and go, oh, well, now you guys know this, and you can say, the jury will dismiss that and not consider that, but it's already been said, it's there. I will say regarding the visual aspect of it, one thing that I think is a negative on the theater of the mind is in classic old school D&D, sitting around a table, you would generally have one person who is designated as the mapper, and everybody would benefit from that. You'd have your graph paper out, and somebody would be, as I described all those twists and turns, you'd be, okay, I'm just 20 feet and then turn this way. All right, let me draw that to the best of your ability. And yeah, you'd end up with this like kind of perverted version of what the actual map is, but you would at least have a general idea of where you've been and what you've done. And you just can't do that with this. I can't even really show you a partial map without giving things away. So then that suffers. And the other thing is there's some old school mentalities of D&D that for newer players that may not even cross their mind, which is interesting to come into it with a fresh set of eyes. See you, Locrius. Oh, I missed him just as he was leaving. Methods of approaching the dungeon. Matt referenced it once with the 10-foot pole, constantly checking for traps. Even somebody in the chat mentioned when you guys were going down that entryway with all the pit traps, said you're going to have them all walking single file, throwing a bag of rocks every 10 feet, which isn't necessarily a bad idea. It seems.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why dungeon crawl is called a dungeon crawl. It's like it's methodical,
So we'll talk offline. We'll figure something out. But for those people watching, Thank you for sticking through this. We're going to figure out when we can all get together again in the not too distant future and finish this beast up. We'll see if these folks stay gender swapped or if they somehow find a way to get back to their old selves, or what other traps and pitfalls and probable deaths await them. So stay tuned to Mini Terrain Domain. Be sure to check out the Absolute Tabletop official group, where this game was sourced and hosted through. And of course, you can check out Mini Terrain Domain on Facebook, and check out Absolute Tabletop, the Kickstarter that I plugged at the break. Make sure you get in on that. Go to absolutetabletop.com. Of course, check out Matt's channel, Fistful of Dice. I don't know, Taylor or Mike, if you guys have anything, any YouTube channels or anything.
Nope.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. And this has been Mini Terrain Domain. Today.